Welcome to the Blue Cafe. We offer stories of infidelity, betrayal, and redemption. Today we start a recap of some of the top stories of the year. Welcome to the extravaganza. Now, on to the story. My 42 meters, ex, 44F, wants to reconnect after she crushed me years ago, 5 weeks after I got married. So, my ex left me for another man. We were both struggling financially and living with her mom at the time. She actually moved out with this guy and I lived with her mom for a while. I was devastated. We had been together for about 8 years and it seemed to come out of nowhere. She basically blamed the entire breakup on me. I had lost my career after a bad injury and things had gone south financially over the last 2 years for me. She said I was a poor provider, couldn't even afford a running car, had no education and she couldn't see herself with someone like me. Shortly before she left I had gotten a decent office job and was starting to get back on my feet, but this guy who traded Bitcoin and drove for Uber was apparently the better option. After this I met a woman at my work, 28 then 33 now, who was going through a divorce and we quickly became best friends. Over time things progressed more and this year we decided to elope, because weddings aren't her thing and we agreed the money could be used for a lot of things we would both enjoy. She is my biggest cheerleader, always hyping me up and I do the same for her. I ended up being pretty good at that decent job and this year hit a lifetime goal of breaking 6 figures. We had bought a house together, I got a new SUV, she had her own very nice car that she paid off herself, she has her own business and does a lot to take care of the home so I can focus on my own career demands and keep growing there. Life could not be more perfect. So about a month after the marriage I ran into the ex's mom. She was always wonderful to be and had always told me her daughter was a moron for throwing away a good thing. She asked how I was and I told her I was still at the same company, was going well, married and we had bought a house. She was very happy for me. She told me my ex had moved home a few years ago after Bitcoin Boy and her got evicted from their apartment and then Bitcoin Boy left her. A few weeks later my ex sent me an email asking how I was saying that she feels horrible about how things ended. She said she knew how wrong she was and wanted to get together to catch up. I told her I appreciated the apology, I was doing well, had recently gotten married. I told her I hoped she was doing well but I didn't want to continue contact with her. After I sent that I blocked her. Then I got a message from her on FB, new account, talking about how it is a shame that I am so immature and how sad it was I would just throw away the friendship we have over a breakup. She mentioned how we had always talked about marriage and kids when things got better for us, but obviously I was just a liar. Anyways, I asked her to stop contacting me and blocked her there too. I kept my wife in the loop through all this, and because she is my amazing wife, she told me to do what I felt is right but this chick seems unhinged and I should just keep blocking her. I now constantly have younger models sending me messages and friend requests non-stop online. It is almost laughable at this point but why won't she just leave me alone, no? I feel like I have found so much happiness in life and she is trying to come back around and destroy that. I really wasn't bad to her, it's been over 5 years. She is in her 40s. WTF. She realized she made a mistake and now wants to weasel her way back into your life. Nope. I have no sympathy. Keep blocking her. My wife told me to just send her a thank you card. Wow, your wife is a savage with that killing with kindness pettiness, you should follow her suggestion, smiley face. I honestly want to but we agreed that engaging was probably a horrible idea. My wife is a pretty smart cookie and honestly I am thankful for what my ex did because my life with my wife is a whole life I never thought I was capable of having or deserving of. I like your wife. She is a keeper. Set your SM account to private. If it's FB, set it to where only friends of friends can send you a friend request. Get your ex a metal detector and wish her luck on her future gold digging endeavors. Ha. This made my wife and I both LOL. What you now know is, you dodged a big material and money-seeking bullet. She doesn't really care about you. She cares about what you have, well, more like what she could take from you. Age has nothing to do with a woman who has never had self-worth. She will be looking for it until she dies. It's sad because she is the only one that can give it to herself. Honestly, I think this post is partly me doing the gloating I know I actually shouldn't do IRL. This last time I saw, who we call, Bitcoin Brie, I was crying in the rain in the driveway while her and her new BF moved her stuff out. Also, my wife kind of got interested in crypto because of this and dabbles in it. Not a ton, but we have just been throwing in a little here and there to build for retirement. Friend is talking about having kids with the man she's having an affair with. Rant. My married friend, 26F, began an affair with her married co-worker a year ago. They both have kids with their current spouses. After I expressed not wanting any kids to my friend for various reasons, she decided to not have any more for similar reasons. Well, yesterday she confessed to me that she is in love with the man she's having an affair with and they are already talking about having kids. Not only is this relationship unhealthy to begin with, they want to bring a child into the mix because they want something that will keep their children connected to one another after they pass on. Like what? It boggles my mind how they come up with these excuses to procreate. She is in the process of divorcing her current spouse. Him, not so much, but I can't convince her of any logic. You can say love is blind. Edit, I would like to add that she is not divorcing her spouse solely for the man she's cheating with. Her current spouse is very abusive and unfortunately, there was a death that ultimately led to her decision to leave. My point of this post is how dumb her reasoning is to have another child in this type of relationship. Jesus Christ. That is absolutely bonkers. NRE is a hell of a drug. I can't imagine not only believing/trusting that this relationship born out of a passionate affair is going to last, but then also believing that her child with this man is going to serve as a friendship bridge for the children from their other marriages. Does not compute. Edit, NRE equals new relationship energy. I think I briefly forgot which subreddit I was on. Lol. What is NRE? New relationship energy. Why is MRE meal ready to eat? Shouldn't it be MRTE? If you just omit letters, what's the point if acronyms? Well, that is an odd comment. I don't think new relationship energy's acronym is missing a letter. MRE is meal ready to eat. You only acronym the capitals in a title. She is about to ruin multiple kids' lives and then have another. She's just doing it to blow up his marriage. Not your friend, stay the hell away from this. Sounds like a ducking nightmare. I'd stay far away too. 26M kids are a pyramid scheme. People like this are spinning tornadoes of drama. I would also steer clear. The butterfly effect of this decision is going to affect many lives. They both sound foolish and toxic. God, this will be a mess. When the truth comes out, the sibs will resent the affair baby and there's no way in hell they'll have a normal relationship with anyone in the family. Not to mention their spouse's pain at having to interact with the rest of their lives. That's if she doesn't decide to pass the kid off as her husband's when she realizes the stigma this whole mess will cause. Your friend is a whole idiot. She's divorcing her husband, but the guy she's seeing isn't in the process of divorcing his wife. Yup. Sounds like true love to me. /s this is going to come back and bite her right square in the ass. I keep asking her if he's going to leave and she just makes up excuses as to why he's still staying with his spouse. There's not much I can say anymore because she's going to do what she wants to anyway. Sounds about right. Yeah, you're just going to have to let that one play out, unfortunately. Usually things have to go sideways for people to realize the situation they're in, and it sounds like your friend is no different. She's on denial and clinging to a man that just wants to eat his cake and have it too. People caught in such a situation can never see through those lies while people on the outside see it easily. I had a friend once starting an affair with a coworker. She was single but he was married. He kept filling her with excuses and lies about his wife being mentally unstable and he would leave her as soon as she got better. Blah blah blah. I wanted to shake her so many times and scream at her that he was never going to leave his wife. Truth came out when she accidentally became pregnant. She told him and he finally confessed to never planning on leaving his wife, and the wife wasn't mentally ill at all. Affair stopped that day, and my friend got an abortion. She found herself in a similar situation a year later where she hooked up with an ex she met one night out partying who told her he was single. He wasn't. She got pregnant from the one night stand and couldn't go through another abortion. He told his girlfriend, knocked her up on purpose and married her while both of them sent texts to my friend about her child never being his real child. It was all one giant mess. I wish I could tell you what happened after that, but we don't talk anymore. I just hope your friend realizes he won't have much money to support her kid if he divorces his wife and has to pay for those existing kids. Sounds like a bad idea all around, but you already know. I hope she figures it out soon. This sounds like a segment on the Maury Show. The situation will get even more messy if kids are involved. This violates one of my prime tenets: don't get kids involved in your bullshit. I find it hard to understand people in their mid-20s who are already married with kids. Like, what the hell is the rush? Yeah, this doesn't sound like a great plan. Let alone get married in your 20s. Like, go travel or something. Stay far away from this situation. I'd stop being friends with her after the mention of the affair was brought up. I cannot say this enough, but toxic. Clearly she is having some issues deep down of a different nature. More often than not, men do not leave their wives for the simple reason of having an exciting side thing while the comfort of routine and safety lies within the marriage. They have it all at that point. No need to change. Most likely it is only BS talk from his side just to keep the fantasy and danger factor up, but just talk. I know, she is not perceptive to logic now, but I can only pray to God. Yeah, lynch me for the God part. They are not going through with having a child. This is a tale as old as time. The guy usually works things out with the wife and the other woman ends up with a broken marriage and children who despise her. The prophecy is already in motion. Shall we place our bets now that when the fit hits the shan, the guy ends up staying with his wife? LOL, what a mess. Oh, I know he isn't going anywhere. They rarely ever leave their wives for the side chick, and even when they do, they or her will be cheating in no time after the thrill and novelty wears off. I was just thinking about this. This is usually how these things go. Why are you friends with this trash lol? In Op's defense, I have seen people I thought were otherwise rational normal people go off the deep end when they get involved in an affair. Unhappy people will do some crazy self-destructive things. We've been friends since we were 10 years old. I tried looking at her relationship as her just finding comfort in someone since her spouse is very abusive, but things changed rapidly. She's definitely not the person I thought she was. 19 years down the drain. After 19 years of being together, my wife confessed to me that 14 years ago she had an affair with a guy from work. I never in a million years suspected it. I always had trust in her and was never really the jealous type. She on the other hand was extremely jealous at the beginning of our relationship. She would threaten me and questioned me about anyone I said hi to. I was always afraid she would confront any of my female co-workers just because I would talk to them about work over the phone or any female friends on social media. I soon realized that if a relationship was going to work I would need to make sacrifices/changes for the better of the relationship. I made a ton of sacrifices for her, including not going to college, because her thought that I would find someone else in school. I stopped talking with friends because she thought they were against her. I didn't go out or do anything but just focus on the family we created. We had our first child right out of high school, so we had to grow up and be responsible very quickly. A few rough years passed and then came 2 more kids a year apart. We always had the usual problems any couple with 3 kids has. We would argue over things like cooking dinner and what to eat, cleaning, picking up kids at practice or the usual stuff. One year we received some of the worst news any parent could ever get. Our second child had a rare malignant tumor on his spine and the survival rate was about 20%. This really put us to the test, but after treatments our son recovered and was all clear. We both believe this actually made our relationship stronger and we were more committed to each other than ever. We saved enough and got married, bought a house, enjoyed what a normal family enjoys while growing. Friday, fast forward to last Friday when we got into it over me going to my company Christmas party for lunch. She was upset because up until recent years they stopped inviting spouses and she claimed that I just didn't want to take her because I probably have an affair with someone at work. I argued and explained and argued more. Then I asked her why she had added an ex-boyfriend from high school on social media. She then got quiet and nervous and quickly ended the argument, something she never does. Saturday, the next day, I proceeded to ask her about it and she said it was nothing, that there was nothing going on and that he sent her a friend request and she accepted it without think about it. I asked her since when had she accepted his friend request. She said since January. I was really upset, mostly because if I had done the same thing she probably would have left me. I asked her why and if she had anything going on with him. She said no, it was just a mistake that they never talked or contacted each other. I asked her if there is anything or anyone else. She then tells me that back in 2006 there was a guy she worked with that asked her out, but she declined because she told him she was married. Then in 2007 there was another guy that worked with her that was just a friend, but he wanted to be more than friends. But nothing ever happened. We argued back and forth and I just walked away because I didn't have the energy to fight. I went to the park because I need to clear my head. I was angry at the fact that it was not fair and if I had done this I would be dead. I then went home and didn't talk with her at all. Sunday, the next day, I had more questions. Were there other friends? Other people hitting on her? But she denied any of it. I had a gut feeling I was not getting the entire truth. She apologized and said there was no one else, that she made a mistake and that she regrets ever doing it. I asked again if there was anything else and she proceeded to say no. I was still upset and still didn't feel right. Later that night we both went to the store for some groceries. On our way back home I pulled over to a parking lot and was calm and wanted to talk. I told her I have a deep feeling that there is more. I told her I know there is more. I said if there is ever a time to be as honest as possible, if she has anything to get off her chest, now is the time. She started crying and said no, but kept stuttering as if she wanted to say something else. I kept asking and telling her to be as honest as possible. I asked again. She stuttered and said there is something but she's afraid. I asked her if it was her ex from high school. She said no. She then stutters and cries and tells me that she wasn't to hurt me. I ask her to be honest no matter how painful it is. She proceeded to tell me that back in 2007 her friend that wanted to be more than friends kissed her. I asked why she didn't tell me. She said she didn't want more problems than what we already had at the time. I asked her again, is there more? She said that's it. I repeated to tell her to be honest. That I need to know everything. She cried and said she didn't want to hurt me. Calmly I asked her to tell me because I don't want to find out elsewhere. She then said that it will hurt me and continued to say that there was more than just kissing. I asked if there was touching. She nodded. I asked if there was sex involved. She nodded. At this point I had felt like my stomach and my chest switched places. I felt like throwing up and continued to ask when, where, how? She explained that it was only one time and that it was while I was at work and that it was in his truck at the park. I was still in shock. I felt like I just finished doing the ice bucket challenge and someone punched the air out of me. I then bit my lip and asked if there was more. She shook her head and said it was just one time and that it never happened again and that she screwed up. She said it didn't mean anything and she didn't even like it. She said she never did it again because she felt like the dirtiest woman on the planet. I then asked why. She said we had some problems and he made her feel good. But that never happened again. She said it happened only once and that she pulled her pants down a little and she didn't even feel anything. She repeated to say that she was on top and she didn't like it because she didn't feel it and that's why they only did it once. I then took the deepest breath of my life and proceeded to ask if there was more. I hadn't taken a deep breath like that since they told us about our child having cancer. She was still nervous and said no. That was it and it only happened once. I drove back home and what was a few streets down the block seemed like a cross-country road trip through hell. We got home and talked a bit more about it. She went into small detail but all I was thinking was that some other guy had his hands on my wife. She cried and apologized. I just sat there stunned. She hugged me and kissed me and somehow I kissed back. Something then took over me and wanted me to make the best love I ever had to her. We finished and laid down and she said she was sorry and that it was a long time ago and it was when we had problems. I laid there as she put her head on my chest and had all sorts of things going in my head. She asked if we could work it out. She said that after we had the issues with our son, that we have been better than ever in our relationship. I was still confused and shocked. I woke up at 2 a.m. and went downstairs to think things through. Monday the next day I went to work and it was just a blur. I made a point to write every thought I had down on my phone. At the end of the day I had about 513 thoughts written down, all in an 8-hour shift. Surprisingly, I didn't get fired. I went back home wanting to know more and ask more. We talked and she went into detail of how it happened. I then asked for her to be honest. I said that there needs to be more. Tell me what else you are hiding. She starts to cry and stutters. I then told her calmly to tell me everything and be as honest as possible. I have a gut feeling that won't go away and she needs to tell me everything or risk losing it all. She cried and then told me there is more. I was shocked again. I asked if there were others and she shook her head. I asked her to tell me everything. She went ahead and said that she had sex with this guy another 5 to 6 times. That there was no one else and that she just needed an outlet and he made her feel good about herself. She was sorry and it happened long ago when we were having problems. I asked if there was more and she shook her head. I really don't know what to do. The past days have been a blur. It seems like a nightmare that I can't wake up from. I have thoughts going in my head, shocked, sadness, anger, fear, anxiety. Don't know if we should work it out or if we should work to go our separate ways. I am confused and don't know what to do. Very sorry that you find yourself in this position of being married to a cheater. Unfortunately, you still do not know 10% of what she has been doing, there is a lot more. Your wife has been projecting her bad behavior on you. That's why she has ruined your other relationships and constantly accuses you of doing something wrong. She has cheated for so long and so many times that the chances of your marriage surviving are almost zero. Hire a lawyer, file and serve her. You will be able to change your mind and stop it, but as more comes out, you won't want to. You must stay strong and protect yourself and your children. This is so true. You can hire the lawyer and reverse it if you decide to keep asking her to be honest and questioning her every move. But, she can't take back cheating. That shit is for life. Just like the old saying. Once a cheater, always a cheater. In this case it is once a whore always a whore. Just saying. I'm sorry boss but I wouldn't trust your woman, you repeated yourself about 20 times and after the 21st time of saying is there more, she mentions there is, makes me feel if you keep asking by the 30th time she'll say there is. Not worth it my guy. She broke the glass vase of the relationship. Even if she patches it up, you will always see the cracks. Yeah, I don't think he can move forward with her from the long post. I can understand that his wife was manipulative and after spending on this sub I lost trust in relationship, move on op 19 years wasted already, at least try to enjoy the remaining. Op, to sum your dilemma up. Every time you have serious problems with her she spreads her legs for other men. The worst thing, all the years she was gaslighting you, played the moral card on you and starts to guilt you every time you look at other women. 19 years of mental abuse. Bingo. This woman abused the op, made him give up friends, college. All the while, she knew she was the one with fidelity problems. Yes, this is the crime. Wow. She's still lying, op. She was hypervigilant early in your marriage because she was cheating herself. I'm sorry to say this, but you need DNA on all 3 of your kids. This being said, it's extremely doubtful that there was only one guy, since it was so easy for her to get away with it. Get yourself into individual counseling, since marriage counseling will be a waste of time for your wife. Consult a divorce attorney and prepare to separate your finances while you're formulating a workable exit strategy. Do not allow this to be swept under the rug, op. There's undoubtedly lots more here. Consider a polygraph, since there's literally no way that this was one and done. There's absolutely more guys. I'm sorry for your heartache. I'd even guess the other guys she mentioned who wanted her she was with, she wouldn't have mentioned them otherwise. The only answer is divorce. It'll take up a while to understand the obvious. She's still available, or she wouldn't be in contact with a high school ex. Ask for the name of the guy and phone number. Contact the bastard and ask him to corroborate her story. She needs to realize the degree to which you lost all trust in her. There's more. I'd ask her what ended it with the guy if he made her feel good. My guess is that another guy took his place. Good question. Her friend's ex shows she wants to cheat again. Whatever number she tells you, times it by 10. That the real number. My kid had cancer. I go to another guy. I think there's more guys, sorry dude. She forces you into a corner about your life but is free to F other guys. Go live your life free of her. She can't say boo to you anymore about your life. Yeah, the whole not going to college due to her jealousy alone is enough for me. You sound nice, op, so you should take that and run before this woman turns you to stone. Same, I honestly would have left her at that point. Yeah, she felt so bad, like the dirtiest woman on earth, that she figured it would be good to befriend her ex. Sorry dude. Serial cheaters can't help themselves, she will never tell him the truth. Classic trickle truthing. She's screwed half the town. Every time she felt bad, you had a fight, you didn't pay her enough attention, etc etc etc, but it is going to take you years and years and years to get this information from her. Dude, you married a mistake. First item, get your kids' DNA tested ASAP. Then divorce her. You will never know how many diseases she's been exposed to, or that you have been exposed to. Or how many guys look at you with that look, that's the dude look. Respect yourself and your children, if they're yours, and get rid of this person you thought you knew. The most damaging thing I've read here is that she intentionally manipulated you into giving up your ambitions and social circle while creating an inferiority complex within you, while she was the one doing the things that she accused you many times of, and doing it so many times. The fact that you thought she would leave you if you accepted a friend request from an ex, but she's completely fine with ducking another dude multiple times and doing God knows what else with him and whoever else. She clearly had no intention of telling you, but at least she told you, because if she didn't tell the truth, although you had to pry it out of her, you would have continued the lie. I know this burns a lot because of how she treated and manipulated you over the years. Sorry to say, but that's what narcissists do, and so far it appears that's what she may be. And she said the same dry line to excuse her cheating, to slightly gaslight you into thinking that this was somewhat your fault. Sorry, but unfortunately you may never know the full truth because she keeps trickle-truthing you. Because she did this so long ago, my advice would be to get your kids' DNA tested and get STD tested yourself, because there's no way to really tell how much cheated and how long ago. I'm sorry you're going through this. I can feel your pain. 19 years down the drain update. Not in a million years did I think I would be here. Some of you shared some advice that was blunt and felt like a slap in the face, almost like a wake-up call. Few of you shared that I should focus and have a clear mind about what to do next. After a few days of sharing how it all started and more painful thoughts and sleepless nights, I am still as confused as when I started. We talked again and she shared more things that she left out. The story changed, and each day, every day was that past was something new. We would talk, fight, share our feelings, and like a drug I fell in again. The next morning around 3 a.m. I would wake up with remorse and hate. Questions ran in my head and I would spend all day fighting it. I'm not gonna lie about giving in. Some of you will say I'm an idiot or stupid human. What I will say is that everyone has a different background with their story. She feels like a drug that I need. I am as confused as I have ever been. Don't know if I am in a reality show, or just waiting for the punked cameras to come out. Not sure what will happen. I have a ton of questions and fear I will never get answers. In my next update I will share more details of what happened and the trickle truth that I went through. Codependency is like an addiction. Also sounds like hysterical bonding, which op should look into. Dude, ask her for handwritten timeline. Handwritten because she had to proofread and check spelling. She will have to keep rereading everything. She will probably have to do a couple rewrites. This will enforce what she done when she keeps rewriting it. This will knock her out of the fog. I would ask her one timeline and where and when. One with the acts. If she defiled anything at home. Sofa, bed, car, table. She FD on it. She replaces with her own money. Would have her read them out loud in front of a counselor. After this, ask her to remove wedding and engagement ring and leave them in the desk with letters. She has to give you a list of things she will do for your relationship. Not you but her. She has to lead reconciliation if what is going to happen. BTW, she has to order and pay for any DNA and STD test. My friend, there will always be things you don't know because she won't tell you everything, and you'll always wonder. You'll already resent her, and you'll never really trust her again. I know it's hard, but it's over, my friend. You should have a separation at least, in my opinion, just so she knows how serious it is that she ought to lose you, and if you stay it's because she earned your love back. Not because she's a drug you can't quit. I promise there are more fish in the sea. You will lose the addiction after a while, but you can't live like this. So she keeps bringing up more betrayals and all you can say is she is like a drug? I'm sorry honey, but that is such a ducking cop-out. No, she isn't. You're afraid to move on and face uncertainty. You are stuck with the devil you know. The problem is there is literally no way this is gonna work now. You are just drawing out the inevitable and hurting yourself and your pride more in the meantime. I get it, it sucks hard and you know what to do but don't want to do it. Every drug addict knows it's wrong. The reason most addicts stay addicted is because of fear and a weird dopamine response that is a lot more profound in some people than others. Love and breakups and the negative spirals are largely chemical. So yes, it does feel like a drug addiction very literally. Some people break it and some die addicted. The answer is the same. Time plus discipline equals freedom. Op will undoubtedly be happier in the long run the quicker and cleaner he makes the break. But don't think for a second that it's just people don't want to do hard things. She isn't heroin, she isn't a literal drug. It is a metaphor and maybe an apt one, but still a comparison that is nothing alike. Dopamine responses aside, giving up an actual addiction and ending a hard relationship aren't equal. And no, it isn't just that people don't like doing hard things. That isn't at all what I said. This is a major life change, one after 19 years. Fear of the unknown and the future is a powerful force that keeps people in bad and abusive relationships all the time. It also doesn't change anything. Op has two options, stay or go. Both are going to be painful and hard and scary. One has a possibility for a good outcome. Hard or not, scary or not, life-changing or not, he has to pick one of those, and we already know that staying is going to be the worst of the two and yet the easiest to actually choose. His insistence that she is like a drug might sound good, but it is bullshit. No, she isn't. He's scared and hurt, not addicted. Most of what you are typing is not wrong, and I'm not really looking to start 2022 with an argument. You're dead wrong about the mechanism of addiction and breakups, though. It's not just a metaphor. There's biochemistry involving cortisol, dopamine, norepinephrine and serotonin. I know a thing or two about addiction, and the biochemistry involved in a breakup is no different than any other normal detox. Yeah, it's not heroin. If you have a scientific basis for saying I'm full of shit, I'm all ears, but as a person who has actually kicked heroin, you sound like every person I ever encountered who said just stop. It doesn't make the advice wrong, but Op needs to understand he's battling more than a decision. He's battling hormones. The good news is that it all balances out with enough distance, but one text can be as dangerous as me having just one tequila shot. Sorry, but you are dead wrong. I don't care if you say you beat heroin or any other addiction. As a drug and alcohol control officer in the Navy during the Vietnam War, the worst thing the medical profession did was to classify drug and alcohol addiction as a disease. They planted more military people than they will know, since they gave the addicted the best excuse for continuing their addiction: it's not my fault. And if you knew anything about addiction, you would know that this is the golden ticket for any addict: it's not my fault. It is your fault, not you in this situation, and the sooner Op understands this and takes responsibility for their actions, the sooner they can begin the detox. Telling addicts that it's not their fault makes one the biggest enabler possible. I saw this over and over in the Navy. Emo of course, but backed up by tons of experience. Op is in this situation due to their choices, pure and simple. Telling them the fault lies elsewhere simply provides the addict with a plausible way to continue destructive behavior. Good luck. Thanks for your 100% opinion, which is about 40 years out of date with science. I learned a simple thing a quarter of a century ago. It doesn't matter if it's your fault or not, it's your problem, and you have to deal with it. But it damn sure helps to know what you're fighting against before you fight. It's good to understand that an addict's brain is going to be his worst enemy, and it's imperative to understand that while overcoming an addiction is hard for a while, it becomes much easier with prolonged abstinence. This is basic shit, but your common sense understanding is shared by a lot of addicts, and it's a shame. It's why they die ducked up. It's not because they think it's not my fault. It's because they think addiction is due to some moral failure and they're just bad people. Trust me, nobody is harder on an addict than an addict. We mostly go through life feeling like broken pieces of shit. I fall into a few small statistical categories. Less than 5% of alcoholics who try to get sober maintain sobriety for even 5 years. I have over 20. Heroin was easier to kick than stimulants for me, but I've had decades of abstinence from all of it, because I do understand how addiction works. It wasn't AA or God or making better choices that got me sober, it was a book written by an MD called Under the Influence. It's a good place to start if you want to update your knowledge, but you could also just Google the multitude of studies that show what I'm saying is right. Being a counselor 50 years ago gives you no more understanding than any other non-addict who has done zero research. And being an addict gives you no more insight other than your own situation. As with all enablers, you seek to enable and not treat the real issue. You permit, you don't repair. Studying addiction for 30 years is what gives me knowledge. You seem to want to just argue. Where did I offer to enable or coddle anybody? The solution is the same. Stop the behavior. Understanding how the physiological mechanism of addiction works gives an addict a much better chance than whatever bullshit you're not offering up as a solution. It's simple, dude. You don't know what the duck you're talking about. That's not bad and lessened until you try to help somebody get clean, because you don't have the tools. You have a half-assed opinion based on literally nothing. So quit losing this argument. Bear in mind, I'm an addict. I'll go for days. This is why you became an addict in the first place and I didn't. You made poor choices, I did not. Has nothing to do with your research. I did actual remediation, not just research. So you're assuming I haven't helped addicts get sober. Based on, again, nothing. I have helped a lot of addicts get sober. It's a pretty big part of my life, not just some internet argument. Keep trying to use ignorance and judgment. I'm sure that's just as effective. Biggest red flag is that she has yet to tell you the full story. Trust me when I say there is no chance of this working out well for you if she does not come fully clean from beginning to end with the blunt truth and do everything she can to make up for it with remorse. Absent that you, sir, are in self-destruction and she will ruin your life. Please heed this. She seems very remorseful, so that is good. But, she must have consequences for her actions. It may have been her long past, but it is your here and now. To her to write a timeline with full details of her affair with that co-worker and any other infidelities, as she will be taking a polygraph, and if she lies directly or by omission, it will be revealed and the marriage is over. Meet with the tester prior to give him the situation and copy of the timeline to formulate his questions. Let her know you will be doing it. Tell her that if she refuses the test, then you know she is hiding more and continuing to lie by omission, so the marriage is over. I have to believe she will come clean and end up passing the test so that you know everything, which is good, but hurt like hell. But, you can now clear your mind of wondering what you don't know. If you decide after this to reconcile, I would insist on a post-nuptial with a very strong morality clause for both physical and emotional fidelity clearly defined with significant penalties to the wayward spouse. Let her know that her betrayal has caused a loss of your trust. The only reason not to sign is if she can't or won't be faithful. Signing it together indicates she is fully committed and serves as a basis for her to begin to re-earn your trust. Assuming you both sign, she has exhibited true remorse and has consequences to her actions. Now would be the time for counseling. Great advice on the polygraph, but I would like to add one thing and please confirm with the tester. There are medications that can aid her in passing the polygraph. As a result, don't tell her when she will be taking the test. Make the appointment for a time/date you know will not conflict with her work schedule. You pick her up, for lunch, perhaps. Once you tell her where you're going, do not let her out of your sight. Take control of her purse, where she could be hiding pills, and go to testing site. If necessary, remind her that you have reason to not trust her. Also, telling the truth and passing with flying colors works to her benefit. Nice ad. I have heard this about pills prior, but never confirmed. It would have to be something that would moderate her emotions so strongly that I would think her husband would notice it. I do know that for a normal person, not under drugs, the test is pretty reliable. A true, high-level narcissist can throw it off many questions because they have no guilt about lying or doing things that are wrong if it pleases them. Not letting her know when she will be tested is a good idea to provide more certainty. My knowledge of them is second-hand. They were described as any medicine that has a calming or relaxing effect. If taken shortly beforehand, would the husband have time to have suspicions aroused and, if so, he would have to cancel? Cost? Loss of high ground ? Yup. Best to go unannounced to her to remove any doubt. Goddamn. All these comments are the most accurate thing I've read. I can so relate to all of this, pensive face, distressed face. Helped my wife transition and now she calls me some dyke and files for divorce. Nor. I never imagined I would end up married to a woman. When I met the person who is now my wife, who I am going to call Paula because that is not and has never been her real name, she was a man, who I am going to call Paul for the same reasons. 2 years into dating, Paul told me he was bi. 2 years after we were married, Paul came out as trans and chose the name Paula for herself. I am not going to pretend that Paula's transition was easy for her or me, because it was not. There are people who will say it would not make the slightest bit of difference to them if their spouse or partner suddenly transitioned, and there are people for whom that is even true, but I am not one of them. But I have tried, goddammit. I am trying. I went to couples therapy with her, I went to her own therapy sessions when she asked, I got a therapist of my own. I read books, I reached out to other people with similar experiences. I stood by her when her family and people who'd been friends pushed back, spoke out against my friends and family's transphobic comments when they came up. I stared dumbly as 3 different therapists heard my story, tut-tutted, and called me bigoted to my face and said I needed to either get on board or get divorced. So I got on board. We burned our wedding album because she couldn't bear to look at her past self in a tux. And I did so much more, and I am not saying that because I want or expect any kind of kudos, and I do not for 1 second imagine that, relative to other cis spouses of other trans people, I have done anything noteworthy or had a more difficult than usual time of it. But, I tried. And I did it because, while the person I loved was no longer a man, she was still the person I loved. And I did all of it while strangers and people I loved attacked me for being the transphobic one. If I ever expressed a moment of shock, a moment of hesitation or uncertainty, or a moment of oh my god, this is a lot of change all at once, can I please sit down for even 1 minute so I literally don't collapse from the panic attack I am literally having right now. And then, this week, at 10:45 AM on a Tuesday, there's a man in a suit and a Hitler haircut at my cubicle, handing me a stack of papers that say separation agreement on the top. He's whisper shouting at me that I need to sign right now or there will be consequences, and he will not agree to take this to a private conference room away from the looky-loos. I tell him to wait while I call my wife, and she lets out a long, exasperated sigh when she picks up. I tell her about Hitlerman and she says he's legit and, with 1 sentence, does her level best to tear my heart out and throw it into a fire. I just can't stay married to some ducking dyke, she said. And when I came home, all of my things were packed in suitcases by the front door and so very many of our friends were there to support her. I think it's easier this way, she said. She works from home, you see. Totally logical. So she gets my support, our house, and our friends, and I get called some ducking dyke and thrown out on the street by a gang of people champing at the bit to dogpile on me if I am anything less than 1000% supportive of the person harassing me at work and kicking me out of my own home. Wow, that is just wrong. I am so sorry that you were used and betrayed like that. The fact you supported the change and then she bit you like that. If you need someone to vent to, please reach out to me. I am pretty much always available. That's so shitty. I'm sorry she used you like that and basically destroyed your life. I hope you find a better counselor and build a happy life for yourself. Duck your former spouse and so-called friends. Go in you for trying, now move on and take care of yourself. Best of luck. What a complete sociopath. I'm so sorry. I was thinking the same thing. Whenever I read a story like this I wonder what hellhole those so-called friends crawled out of. I couldn't even imagine for a second not being supportive of someone going through such a traumatic experience. Duck that? Wow. What a punch in the gut. I cannot even imagine what you must be feeling. I have 2 female friends whose husbands transitioned to female, both ended up divorced, and both struggled with it. That's a tough, complicated thing, and I think it's perfectly okay for you to have a struggle with it. It doesn't make you transphobic. All change is hard and there should have been a grieving period for you, so you could grieve the life you thought you had, and figure out how to embrace the changes. Jesus, girl, this ex of yours sounds toxic as duck. Good riddance. Holy ducking shit. Just sending hugs across the universe, as that's all I can do. Duck her. The insult doesn't even make sense. If she's sending you papers, you may never find out what the deal is. Could be she was using you, or her hormone therapy is really screwing with her emotions. Either way, you got the shitty end of this stick and I'm so sorry. So sorry you're going through this. It's wild to me that someone could try and say you're bigoted when you tried to make the marriage work and you clearly, from the language you use, are supportive of trans people. You went into your marriage believing you were marrying a man. It's reasonable for you to have a difficult time adjusting to finding out that your husband is actually a woman, especially if you identify as a straight woman yourself. And even if you were into women as well, that doesn't mean you have to be okay with having a romantic relationship with a trans woman. There are a lot of extra considerations to be made when being romantically involved with a trans person. Not everyone is built to handle that, and that is okay. It doesn't make them bigoted, it just makes them incompatible. I don't want to be that person, but were those therapists legit? Because every hetero couple I've known who had one of them transition, the therapist would always tell the trans individual to try and give time and space for the other spouse to process, because while you've basically known your whole life that you're trans, your partner didn't. I wish you best and I hope you move on from those people, because that is very harmful and toxic, and for your partner to have literally thrown all of this on you in one day. That's some shitty shit. I hope you're able to grow and love again and not turn bitter. Not for anyone but yourself, because it sucks being bitter. It sucks like there's no tomorrow. And I know you love her still because she's the person you fell in love with, but if she tries to win you back, please don't. I have no idea what it's like to be in your exact situation, but my ex told everyone lies about me, about how I was mean and verbally abusive, when actually he's the one who was, and I lost all of my friends I had through him, and it was hard when people were supporting him to break up with me when he did it so he could sleep with a girl and a week later tried to get me back. I was stupid and did it. It ended just like the first time. Just because someone is trans doesn't mean they can't be homophobic and an asshole. Sorry you had to go through that, best of luck for the future. Navigating estates, tenancy, discrimination, and grief in North Carolina. North Carolina, landlord/tenant, estates, discrimination, TW, suicide preamble, my partner, Mask NB, and I, Cis M, are poly, which I understand will be a deal breaker for many people here. If you are one of them, please move on and do not add to the dog pile that is our lives, thanks. And thank you to everyone for reading my late night ramblings and inquiries. Background: partner and I met our beloved, MTF, almost a year ago. This Thursday would have been our 1-year anniversary. At the time, she had just started working again, was just coming off of her probationary period, and was still shackled to her spouse, joyless Cis F. We, partner, beloved, and I, proceeded carefully and discreetly with our courtship, because for the first months beloved was still wholly dependent on her spouse's insurance to cover prescriptions and procedures, but once beloved was secure, recovered from surgery, and cleared to WFH full-time, we started seriously considering our futures together. Beloved ultimately agreed that the honest thing to do would be to divorce her spouse, so with the help of some of Beloved's friends, partner and I broke the news to her spouse, served her with papers, packed up her things in the nicest suitcases she had, and helped her move out and move us in. I wish this were simply a catty story with a happy ending, or even no ending at all. But life and love are never so easy, as I'm sure all of us here know firsthand. Beloved's spouse refused to agree to our terms, refused to even sign the papers partner hand-delivered to her. I am grateful we had so many people with us when she came to our house, because I fear she would have turned violent without them, and those are both just from the first day. She hired a lawyer to fight the divorce, a no-fault divorce, at that, and demanded beloved buy her own house back from her, blood money. This was after she had abandoned it, let me remind you. Beloved's spouse refused to budge, refused to settle, refused to negotiate, barely restrained her contempt in talking to us, and I'm sure it was no coincidence that whenever her lawyer dead-named beloved, she very begrudgingly corrected him, as if to claim she was some woke AF princess of power rather than the frigid soul who had hired the troglodyte to begin with. Her virtue signaling didn't end there either. As the months wore on, she held every mortgage payment she made above us, as though it were some kind of moral victory or virtue signaling rather than her paying for the house she supposedly wanted us to buy from her so desperately. Beloved did not handle the stress well. At all. I suspect, but cannot prove, that this is what her spouse had intended all along. On Friday, May 1st, while partner and I were making another trip to move our things over from the old apartment, beloved died by suicide. Before her body was even scarcely cold, her spouse had swooped in, claimed the body, and had her burned. A week later, she snuck to our house and taped a notice to quit to our door claiming that she was suddenly our landlord now and that we owed her rent, for a house she had previously demanded we buy from her. While the partner was on hold with legal aid, I checked the mail and saw an identical notice in a certified mail envelope. We burned that one, it seemed fitting. My friends, partner and I find ourselves in a terrifying limbo. Beloved truly despised her hateful spouse and absolutely intended to divorce her, but nothing was ever finalized because her spouse dragged her feet. Beloved clearly intended to change her will to provide for partner and me, but never lived to do it. We are now apparently, if legal aid is to be believed, the tenants of Beloved's would-be ex, which cannot be legal or ethical given her animosity and prejudice towards us, and we must either pay the exorbitant, usurious rent she demands or be evicted from our own house. We are counting our small blessings that our state has put a moratorium on evictions. It isn't much, but we will take what crumbs the system throws our way. Sadly, it is due to expire on the 1st of the month, which mean one day we will have to face this woman in court and be her punching bags for all the world to see, because she is still so furious at a woman who is already dead. Questions: I hardly know where to start here, but given all of the above I suppose I have 5 questions, in relative order of importance. Do we have a cause of action against Beloved's spouse for stealing and burning her body and keeping the remains from us, given that they were on an inevitable path to divorce and Beloved absolutely would not have wanted her spouse to be anywhere near her, as evidenced by initiating the divorce process? If Beloved's spouse is truly our landlord now, how can we prevent her from evicting us or charging us an unconscionable rent? Even granting that she somehow became a landlord, should she not honor the implicit contract we had with Beloved, which stipulates that we may live in and use the house as we see fit? Is it legal to demand that your tenants buy their own house from you? What would be the best way for us to challenge and defeat Beloved's will, given that she intended for us to live in our house and that her spouse abandoned it? Do we expose ourselves to retaliatory charges if we file an ethics complaint against Beloved's spouse's attorney for dead-naming her? Thank you all for your assistance and for keeping an open mind. No, the marriage trumps whatever relationship you had. You cannot. They can evict you as per state law. They can make it a condition of continuing to rent to you. None. The will is legally binding. No, but this isn't going to go anywhere, especially if legal documents such as a will were still in the previous name. Thank you for your responses. Some follow-ups. But she was in the process of getting divorced. The marriage was already dead and rotting in the sun. Beloved's spouse actually couldn't evict us right now even if she were our landlord, because of the statewide moratorium. We never signed any agreement with this woman, nor would we ever. She cannot unilaterally impose this kind of obligation on us. It isn't fair. That's absurd. Really? I guess I should count myself lucky nowhere else I've ever lived has tried this. What if we showed the courts all the photos we took, letters we sent, declarations of love we made, and testified about how much Beloved despised her spouse? Couldn't that establish intent and at least null the old will? He dead-named Beloved while she was still alive, presenting as female, had undergone top surgery, and in the same room as him. That sounds like gross negligence to me, doesn't it? That doesn't legally matter. As soon as the moratorium is over, they can evict you. They can demand whatever they want. You don't have to buy it. No. No. But we never agreed to any kind of lease with her. She was never part of anything. She only swooped in, after she shrieked and hounded a woman to death, and is trying to unilaterally impose an unconscionable rent payment on us. This is tantamount to slavery. You can't stay for free in a house someone else owns and doesn't want you to stay in. You know that, right? Your partner and her wife own that house, and it looks like you all together with all your friends showed up and ejected the wife from her own house, an event you now call abandonment, terminology that doesn't matter because home ownership isn't tied to residing at the home. For X you reside there now, but you don't own it, and were apparently negotiating a buyout, which never happened. As long as one of the owners let you stay with her, you were fine to stay as her roommates. That is no longer the case. Dead naming is rude, it isn't illegal. Beloved owned it too, so even under that argument we do still have permission. Dead naming kills. He could have killed her. Murder is surely actionable, right? Sadly, though, I think you're right that this lawyer will never face justice. The deceased's invitation ended with their death. Literally the only legal reason the widow can't show up with a bunch of hired goons and kick you out of the house she owns are tenancy laws. Go ahead and shoot a person that has a lawful right to be on the property and isn't threatening your life or safety. That's not castle doctrine, that's manslaughter. Since you're thinking about it already, it could be considered murder. I finally have my house back, but my life will never be back to normal. Nor 8.5 months ago, my wife sent one of the men she'd been cheating on me with to my job with an illegal divorce decree to sign. That same night, the rest of her harem threw me out of my house and moved themselves in. 5 months ago, she killed herself, and the two dipshits in chief who'd made themselves home in my house refused to leave, claiming the house was theirs. At the advice of my lawyer, I put on a magic hat that said I was a landlord and they were month-to-month tenants who wouldn't pay rent and did the song and dance routine of evicting people from my house. This was right around the time my state implemented a moratorium on evictions. So now in addition to being the kind of asshole who would evict someone, I was the kind of asshole who had to have laws passed to keep me from doing harm. And the dipshits in my house reveled in that. They were living for free in my house, that I was still paying the mortgage for, sending me regular death threats, while they hadn't even finished moving in all of their stuff from their old apartment and I was living in an unfurnished 1BR and sleeping on a pile of laundry because between all of the current and new expenses I couldn't afford a mattress, but I was that TCH and the DNK and the evil capitalist. And it wasn't just them saying that or making the threats, either. It was their friends and family, people who I'd thought had been my friends, random looky-loos who saw their social media posts about it, and every now and then a garden variety asshole who was passing by. I cannot begin to describe how much it ducked me up to have an eviction under my belt, during a pandemic, as the evictor. I cannot begin to describe how much it ducked me up knowing the only way I could enforce the eviction order would be through calling the cops, after George Floyd. Or seeing the damage those two dipshits had done to my home. Or the utter shitshow that actually getting them physically out of the house turned into. I have my house back. The people who took it from me are gone for now. Things are not and never will be back to normal, and in the end it almost certainly won't have been worth it, but this was the outcome that would have hurt me the least. Good for you though. You did the right things in a shitty situation. You were an evictor, but not because someone was choosing to rent from you, but because they were squatting in your house. Good luck. That second post was ridiculously insufferable. Edited for clarity. That second post, the comments are good, is insufferable and the stuff of legal nightmares. It wouldn't have been long before Sovereign Citizen came into it. I really liked the one comment about how North Carolina still allows for alienation of affection. I hope OP sues these assholes for damages. They did mention castle doctrine, which is creepy as hell. I'm glad the legal advice poster told them that since they're thinking about it, it would probably be murder. What a nut job if it's all true. I also love how they said she wants the house back she abandoned while literally admitting earlier in the post that they kicked her out without notice. But they used the nicest luggage she had. /s. Reading the legal advice post they made, they are insufferable, whiny, ignorant, selfish and egotistical. It's a terrible thing to say, yet I can't help but think the deceased wife took her own life in part because of that person. That is what I took a whole long comment to say. They came into her life and they convinced her she was a victim and they made her a victim to perpetuate their narrative. Also, she was their ticket to Easy Street. They sound like con artists, taking advantage of a vulnerable, obviously mentally unwell woman for their own gain. That was my takeaway. Their poly relationship sounds very much like a couple who wanted something more and convinced a vulnerable person who's battling with their sexuality and gender that they accept her as she is and everyone, including her wife, doesn't. I can understand how torn she was. That couple knew what they were doing and absolutely contributed to her death. And are pissed they can't get a house for free? My M36 wife F37 wanted to separate, and now that I'm seeing someone M34 wants me back. Advice. My wife and I were struggling in our marriage for a good year before she asked to separate around 8 months ago. I was apprehensive and didn't want to separate, but after a lot of talking I agreed to it. We worked out the basics, including that it be a full living separate situation, moved out 6 months ago, and how we'd break the news to our boys M14, M16, just all that stuff. Within the first month of living separately I started to realize just how unhappy I was too. My wife said she was unhappy when she asked for the separation. Around a month and a half to 2 months into living separately she informed me she was going out with a co-worker. She said it as I'm being polite and telling you but you don't get a say. It hurt a lot as not once did we discuss seeing other people. She insisted in asking for a separation that it was not remotely about that. During the period after it, one of my closest friends was a great support to me, and one night it turned sexual with him. My bisexuality has never been a secret, I've always been open about it, including to my wife. We continued on for a little while just fooling around, then we got a bit romantic and decided to go out on a date. So I told my wife that I was going to be going on a date with him, and she wasn't thrilled but didn't say anything about it. Over time he and I started dating her, and her co-worker fell apart. My time with him has been amazing. I know it hasn't been a lot of time and it's still the honeymoon stage, but things just work with him. It's easy and we fit in a way that I doubt me and her ever have. Seeing just how happy I've been with him, I've been contemplating asking for a divorce. Recently my wife came over to talk about things and asked me to stop seeing him. She wants us to work toward fixing our marriage and even asked me to move back in. I told her I needed time to think and she definitely didn't like that response, so I started talking about our boys and how I need to think about them. Basically it just seemed like a guilt trip, but I also worry that perhaps I'm being selfish not hearing her out more. I don't know. I do still have love for her, but I can't honestly say I'm in love with her at this moment. Whereas with him I can say I'm in love with him. Advice or words of wisdom please. Sounds like she ducked around and found out. Not sure what the question is exactly. She ditched you and you're more into the new guy. Obviously you keep moving forward with him instead of her. Also I guarantee something happened with her co-worker before she even brought up the separation. If not full-on sex, at least some flirting and stuff. She broke up to pursue someone who in one way or another made it clear she could pursue them. Yup. She wanted to date her co-worker and see if it could be something serious. She found out it couldn't and now wants you back. Just be honest with yourself, you're happier with him. Just proceed with the divorce and be a good co-parent. Being happy is the best role model you can provide for your kids in the long run. Yes, and whether or not things work out with Op's current relationship, I'd put money on his wife getting bored and restless and leaving again not long after they reconciled. Op doesn't need to factor in the current guy. That's a separate matter. He needs to think about whether he'd want his wife back, because he mentions realizing how unhappy it was after they actually split. She sounds flaky to me. Started talking about our boys and how I need to think about them. Was she thinking of the boys when she asked to separate and started to date her co-worker? Also, I guarantee something happened with her co-worker before she even brought up the separation. I agree. I think that something was substantial enough for her to consider breaking up her family and asking for a separation from a long-term relationship with you. Now that the grass is all wilted and dried out on the other side, she's back here giving you the guilt trip. But what about the kids? And yeah, please think about the boys. You are their role model. What would they learn when they see that you've been treated poorly in the relationship and you are still okay with all that poor treatment just to stay in a relationship with your wife? That may make them think that it's okay to be in a bad relationship. They may possibly not like the fact that because of them, you chose to stay in a bad relationship with your wife. Ducked around and found out is exactly what she did. The grass isn't greener. Exactly, the co-worker goes into her undies and now that he has her he wants nothing more than friendship. This is now uncommon, predator co-workers looking for the married person that isn't getting much attention and is having issues at home. They live to say the right things, and soon to develop a crush. Once the WP develops that crush, it's all over. More than likely she had friends encouraging her or separating from you and to screw her co-worker. She was most likely screwing Hun before your two separated. Yup. So what you're saying is your wife asked to separate, started going out with her co-worker, probably had a thin way before separating with you, and after you do the same and find someone you're interested in. Her co-worker and her fall out and end their relationship, and now she wants you back and wants to work on it. I would say no and move on. When will be the next time she finds a guy she wants to have a fling with? Don't enable her to make bad decisions. She got what she wanted. She asked for it. Not to mention, she told you that she was being polite and you didn't have a say in the decision to see other people. Leave her. I don't say that often, but I honestly don't see how this would work for you. You said you were unhappy and realized it after you found your own freedom again. Do you want to be unhappy with a wife that already left you once? Not to mention that she is trying to gaslight and guilt trip you back into a relationship for the kids. Did she ever mention this when she asked for separation? What about when she had her fling with her co-worker? She's using you, and once you realize it, it'll be easier. Stay with him. See, that's the thing that annoys me. She didn't worry about our boys when we separated or when she started seeing her co-worker. She never asked them or told them first. I told them about it and asked if they'd be okay with it when I started seeing my boyfriend. Did her self-centered way of handling relationships have something to do with your unhappiness in your former marriage? It was a variety of things. The lack of affection and uneven household workload along with nitpicking all played roles in my unhappiness. Dude, just read what you wrote. Your kids will be way better off not watching that dynamic every day. Millions of kids have separated parents. If you treat them with love and kindness and not as pawns, they'll be fine. You don't want to teach them that the way you were treated is okay in a relationship. Put it this way, if you had a good friend come to you with the same situation, how would you advise them? Honestly, it doesn't sound like you were getting anything out of the relationship with her. No affection? Yeah, I'd tell her thanks, but no thanks. She hurt you and the kids by insisting on separation. That's irreparable harm that wouldn't be mended even through moving back in together. You and your kids have adjusted well, especially you, to the new situation your wife created. Your kids are not little. They are not breastfeeding. They can be away from their mom half the time. Going back with your life won't undo the harm she has done to you and the kids, especially you. By harm to kids, I don't mean she caused major trauma. She just punctured their sense of stability about their family. They can be away from their mom half the time. If I broke it into a percentage, I'd say they are here with me about 80% of the time by their choice. Update on my M36 wife. F37 wanted to separate, and now that I'm seeing someone, M34 wants me back. Advice. Link to first post. It's removed cause of cap but has the original text saved. After my last post I really started thinking about asking myself what I want and decided to move forward with a divorce. I can't go back to a marriage filled with zero affection, constant nitpicking, and a completely uneven level of household duties. Even if I wasn't in love and wanting to move forward with my boyfriend, I still wouldn't want to reconcile. Especially after the messages my 16-year-old showed me from her. She expected him to encourage me to dump my boyfriend and move back in. Mind you, I haven't told her I want a divorce. That was just in response to telling her I wanted time to think. I'm both shocked and horrified she'd stoop to pressuring our boys like that. Needless to say, after talking with my oldest and seeing those messages, I met with a divorce lawyer. We have a prenup that covers most of our finances, so that should be straightforward. The custody of our boys will be the biggest thing. Though they are old enough that their say will be taken into consideration, and my oldest has already asked if he could live with me. I haven't told him about the divorce yet. He asked after her messages. Not that it's a big change or surprise, as both boys spend most of their time with me already, as I've been the primary caregiver for them most of their life. My lawyer has advised me not to tell her about the divorce and let her be served this week. I am torn on that. I'm sure he knows best, but it also doesn't feel completely right to blindside her. Thank you for all the advice on the first post. Edit to clarify. It's not just telling her about the divorce. He's suggested I keep contact to a minimum and only concerning our boys, preferable over text only in general. Which I'm going to trust him on. Listen to your lawyer, man. Don't do anything silly at this point in the game. Life is not fair. Your wife surely wasn't fair to you. Seriously? A good divorce lawyer is worth their weight in gold. And will charge you like it. Anyway. Please keep your yap shut and let the lawyer, who you are paying, do their job. Yeah, don't do anything silly like post very identifiable details of your situation on an internet forum with thousands of readers. Listen to your lawyer. There is a reason your lawyer is giving you that advice. I'm a divorce lawyer and it infuriates me when clients sabotage their own cases by not listening to my advice. Any insight on why the lawyer would advise minimal contact? The more contact, the more chances for her to manipulate him or the situation. That's my guess, at least, now. Not a lawyer, but she could also disappear temporarily to delay getting the paper and drag out the divorce. Just bear in mind that your lawyer has been around the block countless times with issues like yours. Listen to everything he says and follow it like it's the word of God. You're paying him to tell you what best to do. Don't throw your money away by playing your own game. As far as your relationship with your ex, she played you and now she's trying to control the situation again in her favor. Don't play into it. You are doing the right thing in my opinion. Thank you, and I am going to stick to what he says even if I feel a little guilty doing so. I know I shouldn't feel that way. It's natural to feel guilt. You've shared everything with this woman for a good chunk of time. Keeping things from her feels like lying by omission. However, the professional advice you've gotten is to not communicate with her unless it's about the boys and in writing. Follow that advice because it really is in your best interest. She asked for a separation. She had an inkling that this might lead to divorce. She's not being blindsided. When she gets served, she's going to try to reach out. Don't respond to anything other than to say contact my attorney. Best of luck, Op. You deserve to be happy. Of course you do. Even though you're much happier now, you shared a life together for nearly 20 years. Sincere, you were at least in late teens. That's a long time and during a huge growth period of change. There will be emotional ties still there for completely ending it. I'm assuming you did the bulk of child rearing and household chores by the way you worded it. You were done. Now you've found someone else, someone whom you have a solid basis in friendship. Whatever happens with that relationship, I wish you all the best. I hope she, too, will get counseling and regroup herself. 17 years, so yes, nearly 20, and also yes, I did the bulk of child rearing and household chores. We both work, so it was supposed to be shared, but within the first couple years it shifted to me doing most of it, and in the last few years basically all of it. For example, for at least the past 6 years, if I didn't get up to make breakfast and pack lunches for everyone, it would be they can fix cereal and give them cash to buy it morning. When we separated, my workload actually decreased as I didn't have to cook for an extra person or get one up. It was a big eye-opener. That's one of the things about my boyfriend, is he stepped in without a discussion or anything, and just started sharing the load. Even after I told him he didn't have to, he still does because he wants to, which were his words. Oh gosh, that's a dream partner. One who just does stuff and keeps the ship sailing. It's you without standing back doing it half-assed or not at all. I mean, more and more it becomes clear divorce is the best way ahead, and your wife asking to separate was the best thing, and she's now dealing with backfire, but even she will know it was the best thing. It's funny because what you're saying is what the majority of women have expressed when it comes to marriage and raising kids and their husbands doing zip. It's BS and unacceptable when a partner leaves the household stuff to the other. You both were so young, like what, 19, and then several months later a baby on the way. You've never been able to cut loose much since you had heavy responsibilities so young. Oh, plus side, your kids are getting closer to adulthood. I know that you're a good dad because your son was comfortable enough with you to show you those messages. I hope you and your boyfriend enjoy many happy days. What a great dad you are. Follow your lawyer's advice and divorce her. She sounds toxic as duck. Congratulations on your new relationship, heart. It's got to be cheating, right? Rant. I'm 32, my wife is 40. Recently married. The signs are all there. I just don't have that definite proof yet. So it's either you're just not happy and didn't really want this, or you're cheating, or both, lol. My gut says both. Signs. Phone behavior definitely changed at some point. Phone is attached to her hip now. 20 to 30 minutes bathroom breaks. Leaves the room with the phone. I catch it face down sometimes when we are in bed. Calls from unsaved numbers don't get answered occasionally. Sex. Again, recently married. Not saying we should be ducking like rabbits every day, but one time every few weeks when we aren't arguing is raised eyebrow. I speak to friends and family and they are like confused as duck because we're newlyweds. Not to mention she has a few toys and is supposedly into public sex, etc. A freak, but not for me. She never initiates anything really. She'll kiss me, sometimes. When I initiate she's got a headache, tired, etc. blah blah. Arguments. Picks arguments over the smallest things, only her feelings get hurt, mine's are swept under the rug. She gaslights the duck out of me. Anything I say as expressing myself or something I want to see worked on is seen as a shot to her. It always gets flipped to her. Body language. Her body language is just off sometimes. The moments she says she's sick, or has a headache or nauseous seem so fake. I try to get her food. Doesn't want it. Doesn't want to take medicine. She's a nurse, BTW, unamused face. Her body language just screams guilt to me sometimes. She sees how her kids love me and I feel like I catch the guilt look then, or sometimes she will just look at me like a sad ass puppy dog. My first post in here, take it easy on me lol. Just needed to vent. Speak to a lawyer about annulment ASAP. Don't lose half of everything. Hire a buy if you really need to know, but don't waste too much time to mess up the annulment. Excellent advice. A pointing finger, this. Either play detective and find that she is cheating or just not the person you thought she was. Either way, if you stay you will be miserable. Investigate the annulment and get out if you can. This right here. The thing about how you catch her looking at you, that's a real red flag emo. The thing I regret ignoring the most was catching looks on his face that told me all I needed to know. Huge one for me too. She always tries to say I can't read her or I'm off, but I know. She can't hide shit. Even her kids notice her offness and she's always yelling at them. How long did you know her before getting married? Hope you don't have any joint assets with her. Buy a VAR, plant it somewhere hidden. You can listen to whoever she's taking to when you are not around. Where's the kid's dad? First husband is still in the picture. Second is a deadbeat and the one that beat on her. First husband had an affair after 19 years of marriage to her. Her version, of course. She's definitely is cheating with the second. I considered this. Still do. Has him saved on the phone as deadbeat but constantly communicates and argues with him. Oldest daughter has told me already from going through her phone and has told her to stop wasting energy with him. Update, she's claimed she's been sick the last 2 days. Tonight she got naked and in bed and started rubbing on me, trying to rush me to bed and tell me to take my clothes off. This is after she's been giving me the sad puppy dog look along with being sick. Yeah, right. Another red flag. Now you want to show affection, raised eyebrow. I tried to do something with her twice the other day when this sickness started, went from headache to backache to nauseous. Then sent me a text about come play with me while I was vacuuming the room, obviously preoccupied. Oh, so now you want to engage me, unamused face, ignored the text. More red flags basically lol. Her oldest daughter flew in this past weekend for a contract job and been noticing the same shit I have. She says she went through her phone and didn't see anything. All that says is either the daughter is lying or she's good at hiding. Daughter really notices all the bullshit her mom does though and has called her out on it and takes my side now basically. Tonight she got naked and in bed and started rubbing on me, trying to rush me to bed and tell me to take my clothes off. You could be right about her. But what would be wrong with trying to see where it will go if you let her seduce you? Anyway, I hope she's not cheating and just mixed up psychologically. Good luck. Never turn down her sexual advances. If there are issues she is trying to work out in her mind, that would help push her further away. Unless that is what you want. There is something wrong here. If she's not allergic to you, then it's something else. You've got some red flags, alright. Doesn't sound like a good marriage at this point. What does she say the issues are? Her issues are always shit in her mind that I tell her is wrong. I feel like you feel like this, that, etc., blah blah. That's all she can say is her feelings cause I treat her fine. Picks arguments over the smallest things, only her feelings get heard, mine's are swept under the rug. She gaslights the duck out of me. Anything I say as expressing myself or something I want to see worked on is seen as a shot to her. It always gets flipped to her. This paragraph speaks volumes here. What you've described here is called deflection. It is a narcissistic defense mechanism. People that have something to hide or trying not to let guilt bleed into the situation do these very things. It is part of the gaslighting. It is also used as a tool to validate their reasons for doing what they are doing. She sees how her kids love me and I feel like I catch the guilt look then, or sometimes she will just look at me like a sad ass puppy dog. Probably some of that guilt bleeding through and perhaps regret. She basically acknowledges that you are good for her kids and her hidden actions will eventually change all that. I agree with folks here depending on occupational status. Teaching, medical fields and law enforcement, and corporate fields, white collar, are breeding grounds for infidelity. My theory is that someone at her work has stolen her attention and she is riding the high of excitement. You mentioned she likes sex in public places, etc. She's a thrill seeker. She thrives in the danger of being caught. Now, this thrill seeker is married to a man that is not. You cannot fulfill her thrills, hence the suspicion. All theory here, but being a betting man, I would lay odds that is exactly what she may be doing. I hope you find out soon. There are a lot of good suggestions on this thread. I hope things won't get too ugly and the kids won't suffer for her indiscretions. You've laid a lot of my thoughts and assumptions really well. She is very narcissistic. All about her. I've had an actual sinus infection these past few days before her sickness. She's maybe asked twice if I'm feeling okay or whatever. She is a master manipulator. I give her that. She taught my ass some things in this. Update rant: previous post is here. So it's been a month. Nothing has changed. On her end, that is. Still under the impression she's cheating. Even though I've found no solid proof, all signs point to it. So since I moved here from where my feet was planted, it took me a few months to find a job and an escape plan, but I've found it. I'm leaving Friday. Booking a hotel Thursday and my ride will be here Friday to pick me up. Found a hybrid job that pays weekly. Going into the office today to see if it's any way they can just let me work remotely for personal reasons. If they could come through, that would be so clutch. So along with the same old bullshit outlined in my original post, Easter last night was the final nudge I needed. She texts me while she downstairs cooking around 8 that she has to go into her nursing home because there was a positive COVID test, so she has to test everyone. She doesn't even end up leaving the house to go until 2 a.m. She takes her 20-year-old daughter with her to help supposedly. I get no text or phone call even letting me know she's made it to work. We share locations, so I saw her phone there, but what does that even mean if I didn't hear from you all night? I got a picture message around 5 a.m. from the daughter showing them in her office. Like a "hey look at us, we're where we said we would be" text lol. They make it around 6:30 to 7 a.m. She comes to kiss me and I say next time it'll be nice to know you're good. Of course she flips her shit screaming she wants a break and I don't understand her career blah blah. I go downstairs to work, she comes down hours later saying some dumb shit like she has to retrain herself to understand somebody cares. Like what? Lol, maybe you shouldn't have got married. All in all, I'm just counting down the days while smiling in her face. She can't even look me in the eyes without them shifting from side to side. It feels good to know I'm about to be out of this shit. Next step, annulment. Thank you again to everyone and good luck. Edit: no, she doesn't know I'm leaving yet. It will definitely be a conversation for me to get everything I need to get out and some closure. Probably over the phone after I'm gone. She texts me while she downstairs cooking around 8 that she has to go into her nursing home because there was a positive COVID test, so she has to test everyone. She doesn't even end up leaving the house to go until 2 a.m. She takes her 20-year-old daughter with her to help supposedly. Doesn't shift change occur at 11 p.m.? Why would a non-employee be allowed in the facility during that time? I have a good friend who is the nursing supervisor at a facility and I'm told the facility goes into a lockdown mode when there is a positive test. The nursing facility populace is the most at risk. I'm not in the medical field, so I honestly know what she tells me, but I talked to somebody else and they told me her just having her daughter there to help was a violation. I asked her randomly if she would get in trouble for having her help. She just said no, real blank like. My friend just said that bringing someone in like that, a non-employee, during a COVID lockdown is the most crazy thing she's heard. Their facility still has extremely stringent protocol in place for resident visitation, people coming into the facility, but during a lockdown, no one from outside gets past the lobby. Is this US? I would certainly expect that there was no COVID outbreak. She may have been at the facility, with AP. Or, her phone was at the facility and she was with Apathy's home or a hotel. The 20-year-old daughter, I'm sure, has every reason to protect her mother in this. She sleeps on the couch, or in a guest room. Mommy dearest has fun. If my hypothesis is correct, she's sick. I understand the 20-year-old daughter is old enough to understand and make her own decisions, but there is another underage child that has apparently been involved. It would have been interesting to have location on the daughter's phone, to see if it actually stayed at the facility. Maybe I'm just cynical, but it sure seems plausible. Good luck with your plan, Op. Yes, this is the US. Didn't make any sense to me either. She's not the boss but she's up there, so her having to even go in on Easter to do COVID tests smelled funny to me. Only way taking your 20-year-old daughter to work with you at 2 a.m. makes sense, is if the nursing home is a bar called Candy Girls. Sorry, dude. I've got nothing positive to say. Hugs. You are doing the right thing by leaving. Run fast and run far. Then get yourself a STD/I test. Did you ever straight up ask her if something was going on, or you just assumed based on all those signs? Waiting until last convo to basically drop everything I've gathered. I see. Good luck, bro. Hope it all works out for you. Have you actually sat down with her and asked her? You're newlyweds and still adjusting to being married. The infrequent sex. You're 32 and she's 40. Drive could be a matter of hormones and perimenopause. She should probably see a doctor. Honestly. Just from reading only 2 posts, and depending on her background, is there some kind of trauma that could be manifesting itself now? I think about how different I was between the ages of 32 and 40. My ex was an LPN who got called into work at weird hours, sometimes depending on what was going on. He worked at a nursing home, then corrections. He's dead now. Killed himself last month. We have 2 daughters. I think your plan to leave in the way you planned, especially if you haven't sat down with her to discuss your suspicions, is a touch cruel. Does she even know you're unhappy? Get on down the road, brother. Happy for you for sure. She wants a break, no worries, try this on for size. What is up with taking the 20-year-old daughter? Is she providing cover for her while she cheats, or is she involved in the action? Yuck if that is so. What is up with taking the 20-year-old daughter? Is she providing cover for her while she cheats? That's my guess. Think she'd cheat with her daughter in tow? Weird if so. You're right about annulment. Another update, so I spoke to my daughter's boyfriend. He had no idea that they even went into work until the next morning. So he was kept in the dark. He also found out from my wife's 17-year daughter that his girlfriend, 20-year, asked her how to turn off location or show it somewhere. He and her have the Live 360 app, and he told me the app told him she never even left the house the night they went into work. Now my wife and I share locations on iPhones, and her phone showed it was at work, but where they really were is still in question. They both are angry now cause they looking guilty as duck. What a duckin' mess. Counting down the days still lol. So I called the nursing home faking like I wanted to come see my grandma or something. Of course the lady says yeah you can come in. So BS on the COVID case, and her daughter is helping her. Clearly when the daughter said she checked on her mom's phone, it was all a lie and she was giving her a heads up. Update number 2, I left. Rant. Previous. So I left Wednesday. A day earlier than I wanted to. She actually initiated the conversation, so I just went with it. The conversation started out cool. Basically she stated she felt I wasn't happy and her and the kids have noticed it. I confirmed all of that for her. Things took a turn when it got to trust and me feeling like she's been cheating. She started talking loud and crying, saying she isn't doing anything. Trying to explain she's always at work or at home, etc. etc. She then asked if I wanted to leave. I said yes, I'll leave tomorrow or tonight if it's an issue. She said okay. I went down to the basement to get my suitcases back up, and she was already throwing my clothes on the floor. Yelling, calling me all types of cowards and telling me to get out but not letting me pack my stuff. She bought a gun for me there in her name since I didn't have a state ID, so she wanted it back and snatched it out the drawer. At this point she's acting ducking crazy, so I snatched the gun out of her hand and gave it to her daughter's boyfriend. She made a comment like, "Give me the gun back, he can leave in a body bag tonight." At that point she was shoving me and being in my face, so I called the cops just to be able to get my shit and leave peacefully. The cops came and gave me a ride to a hotel. I stayed in state for a few days until my ride came. She has blown me up with calls and texts. It started out with "I'm sorry, I love you, come home," etc. etc. I ignored her for a few days, but I did text her back a few days when she asked to let me know I'm at least okay. I said I'm okay, I need time to myself. She left me alone for like 2 days until this morning. She was blowing me up and sending me voice messages asking for closure like I got. Like you could have got your closure too if you didn't act a complete psycho. It's tough. I'm not gonna lie. Most people probably would say just block and move on, but I haven't even reached that point yet, to be honest. Just trying to stand firm in not entertaining and dealing with the emotions at the same time. Do not meet with her if she has access to a gun. You still need to get that annulment to completely get rid of her in your life. Good for you. Did you find out what her daughter's role is in her potential infidelity? It was addressed in the conversation and she brought her daughter and her boyfriend in the room, but she never even directly asked her daughter why, or did she even say the things she said about the location. All my wife said was, "I didn't ask anyone about a location." This is when all the crying and yelling pleading her case about her not cheating started. The daughter was just making side comments the whole time she was in the room. "He never trusted you anyways. If he wants to leave, just leave." She eventually got mad and walked out the room. Wow. That is some crazy stuff. Weird dynamic between mom and daughter. Best case scenario is she is just a flat out liar and cheat, but there are serious psychopathic items going on. I am no therapist, but all you want are answers to some basic questions and they are stonewalling and fighting you. It is like you know your kid wrecked the car but they just do not even acknowledge any of it. Sorry man. Getting the hell out of Dodge and waving bye-bye to this shit show is the right call, I think. Best. You are doing good op. I've read all your posts and something is rotten in Denmark. There are just too many signs. Plus, the whole daughter thing? If she wasn't seeing an AP, was she worried that you would make a pass at her daughter if she wasn't home? That is also psycho and a good reason to divorce too. Also, don't worry about giving her closure. Really, there is no closure in a situation where infidelity is suspected. Why? Because there is no trust. Regardless of what she says, you won't trust her. I think her wanting closure is just a way for her to try to talk you into coming back. If she wants closure and you think you want to give it to her, just type up a letter of what you mentioned in all of your posts here. Then say, "I just don't trust you. I can't live my life not trusting someone who is supposed to have my back 100%. I think you are making the correct decision. Please update us when things progress. Godspeed." It feels the same way to me too. Just a way to try and rope me back in. She has a way of getting me on the phone and holding me hostage. I've thought about sending her all the notes I made in my phone about things and just sending a message like you suggested, but I know once I open the door I will communicate back with her. This reminds of that wife that murdered the kids then committed suicide. She should not have a gun. So what if she's not cheating? Would you still want to leave? Did you confront her about bringing the 2-year-old to help her at 2 a.m.? That part is definitely suspicious, but you would think a woman who has a man on the side wouldn't be so bent out of shape about you leaving. I did confront her. I addressed that in a reply above. If she wasn't cheating in all this, great. It's still no trust in it for me. You've shown me enough signs and did enough for me to not even trust you and be almost 100% positive you're cheating at this point. All the dramatics about me leaving or the cheating just feels like the defense people who usually are cheating put up when confronted. After you left, did she ever admit to cheating? You might be able to get her to come clean. Still saying she's never cheated. She's being served tomorrow. My reasons for leaving. Rant. First post here, but I've been lurking since my first D-Day, the 17th of April 2021, only recently becoming active. A bit more than a year has gone by, and through lots of self-reflection and therapy, I finally built the courage to walk away from my 38 meters wife, 36F. This is a very weird feeling, one I really don't know how to fully describe. I'm optimistic and scared, calm and anxious, happy and sad. My Fitbit says my heart rate is around 80 BPM, which is about 10 beats higher than usual. So I decided to write this here as a reminder to myself not to give in. I thought making a list of all the shitty things I've had to deal with over the 13 years we've been together, married for almost 8, might keep me on track to follow through with the divorce if I get weak in the future at any point. So, here's a bullet list of all the reasons I am leaving for my future self. She is an alcoholic. She gets obnoxious, verbally abusive, and violent when she drinks. She cheated on you with an employee that reports to her at work. They had sex at work during working hours, not to mention the hotels they booked. She made secret plans to meet up with an ex-boyfriend using her work cell phone before you stumbled onto the text messages. After forgiving her for cheating on you, you discovered she had booked a hotel in August 2021 during a night you were away. Once confronted, she denied and gaslit you. A week after you left the house to stay with family, she finally admitted to sleeping with the same co-worker again. The one time she agreed to put a tracker on her phone, you discovered she had left the phone at her friend's house and had her friend text you pretending to be her. She claimed she was at Target and simply forgot her phone. She came home drunk in the middle of the day once, saying she was at the gym. After finally agreeing to start a new job and put her AP out of your life by blocking him on her phone and email, you discovered she was hiding a second cell phone and communicating with him through that device instead. On a night she claimed she wanted a night to herself, she secretly met up with her AP for dinner, claiming she just wanted closure. The same night, she stayed at a hotel. Her best friend, who previously coerced her into $5,000 worth of debt and has cheated on her own husband with many partners, has been assisting your wife in all her affairs and will continue to do so. Luckily you have no kids since she aborted your child 5 years ago. You can sell the house, make your money and move on without any strings attached. Don't believe her when she says she will change. She has said this many times and she never will. She has only gotten smarter in trying to hide her shitty behavior. Get out. Build your own life the way you want it. Jesus Christ, just typing all that out makes me question why I stayed as long as I have. Edit. Thank you so much everyone for the outpouring of support. Today is kind of a crazy day as she is being served while at work. I have the day off and I am moving my stuff out at the same time. So while I'd love to respond to everyone, I am on a tight schedule today. Some frequent questions I have been receiving in chats/comments/messages. No, she does not know she is being served today, but 2 days ago I told her I was pursuing divorce and wanted her respect. She agreed, albeit after love bombing me and promising she would make changes. I shot down all her attempts. I did not want to report her to HR, and I would advise against anyone else doing so. If I pursued divorce and she lost her job, I would have been on the hook for alimony. We both make roughly the same annually, so realistically she shouldn't be receiving anything from me. Pasting a comment I left to someone in the comments section to explain why I did not leave after so much. It's not easy to walk away after you've built so much with one person. A lot of this really only came about in the last year and a half, really. She had a drinking problem, but was always self-aware of her issues and worked hard to overcome everything. She went a long time without touching alcohol. She was sweet, kind, and nurturing for years, and it felt great to spend my time with someone like that. Once the affair started she seemed to lean into all her negative behavior, and I just kept giving her chance after chance, and now she's used up all of her chances. The house is in both of our names. I do all the upkeep on the property. I intend on staying in the house to facilitate its sale since she does close to nothing with the house. If she chooses to stay, legally I cannot kick her out, so going full no contact, while I deal, might be tough to do. I am moving my stuff to my father's house today so I can bail and stay there if all fails. I wish I could see her face when served. Be prepared for the physical assault. Keep the helmet on. It gets better. With time, distance and self-work, you will feel content again. Seriously, bud. Good for you for making this step. It may seem tough now, but it definitely gets better. I'm 38 as well, and let me tell you, single life at our age is so much fun. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to have my own apartment and be on my own. Man, it's great. Do what you want, when you want, and don't have to answer anyone. Damn. That's a long list. If you think she aborted your child, you're dreaming. She aborted an AP child just because it would have inconvenienced her later on. Sorry to hear you took so much abuse. Now get set for Drama Central. The kicking screaming theatrics of the cheater. Oh man, I'm sorry brother. You've had it rough for far too long. You need to rebuild your identity and love yourself again. Nobody will ever love you more than you can, and you need to find your way back to that. My heart goes out to you, friend. Heart, folded hands, hugging face. Exactly. The only question which comes to my mind is why the heck did you stay after this much? After all the dust has settled and legal judgments have been made, make sure everyone knows about all the items on your list. Make sure to not let your dick near her. You never know, she could have STDs or maybe try to baby trap you. Otherwise, good for you, mate. Glad you made a good choice for you and finally chose to respect yourself. Stay strong. Make sure to talk with a good lawyer so you can have a good and easy case. Wow, I was also wondering how you could stay in such an abusive relationship for so long, but tomorrow is the beginning of the rest of your life. You are still relatively young, you have so much more to do in this life. You deserve so much more and you will get it. You only need the courage to walk out the door and walk into the next chapter of your life. I wish you all the best and keep us updated. Does the best friend's husband know that his wife is cheating with multiple people? Update, she's been served. Rant. Hello everyone. Once again, thank you so much for the encouragement after my last post detailing the reasons why I finally decided to leave my 38 meters wife, 36F, and serve her with divorce papers. It feels good to get over that initial hump, but I know the road ahead is still lengthy and will be filled with many challenges. Ultimately, despite all the rough spots that occurred this past weekend, I'm feeling empowered that I am taking control of my life again. So, here is what has transpired since Friday. She comes home from work and visibly upset and unstable, but trying her best to pretend that nothing happened. She denied ever being served the papers, and took note of things of mine that were missing, and noted the kitty carrier out. She demanded I put everything back, put the kitty carrier away, that she was going out with a friend and that I had better be home when she gets home. After she left, I packed up the car and went to my father's house. I did not feel safe with her the way she was acting. The Ring doorbell captured her returning home a little after 10 p.m, then around 11:30 p.m. it captured her again in one of the strangest and most unsettling ways I have ever seen my wife behave. She walked out the front door and stood in the driveway for a moment, then began dancing and singing the chorus of The Boy Is Mine by Brandy and Monica. After singing the chorus of the song and a couple more verses, she walked back up the front stoop and tried to tear the Ring doorbell out, but she was unsuccessful and walked back into the house. She was obviously drunk, and I was very satisfied with my decision to leave the house and stay at my father's. I have saved the video and sent it to my attorney. On Saturday morning, her friend picked her up at 5 a.m. as they had plans for a day trip to shop at the outlets. I went home and investigated the house. Luckily everything seemed alright and nothing was damaged by her. She came home in the early evening and still pretended that everything was alright and she was never served any papers. I ignored her and stayed to myself on the couch. Eventually she came and sat down, admitted to receiving the papers, then unleashed a number of different tactics on me to get me to drop the divorce. She threatened, mocked, begged, negotiated, pleaded, love-bombed and guilted me over the course of 2 to 3 hours, discussing everything. I held firm, laid out my case that I was unhappy and wanted out, that I was tired of being abused by her, lied to, and emotionally tortured. Surprisingly, she admitted to enjoying treating me the way she has, as every time I stayed with her and endured, it evidently showed her how much I loved her. I quickly pointed out the dysfunction in that, which she brushed off as being just the way she is and asserting that she will never sign any divorce papers. Things have calmed down. There's obvious tension in the house still, but we are coexisting and keeping things cordial. My attorney has advised that she has seen this plenty of times in her years of being a divorce attorney, and once all her tactics fail and she realizes that the divorce is not going to stop, she will turn to rage and go on the attack, so I'm preparing for that next. This is certainly the start of a very long battle, I'm sure. But I keep thinking of the goal at the end of all this, me, on my own and self-sufficient in my own place, not being tormented any longer. I absolutely cannot wait for that day. Congrats. You definitely are getting out of a terrible relationship. Who admits they abuse PPA and is delusional enough to say it proves love? Always listen to your lawyer. The "you better be home" sounds an awful lot like a threat. I honestly wouldn't feel safe sleeping in that house. Keep in mind she is a cornered angry animal. And they will do whatever it takes to survive. Her response to being served with divorce papers was to go on a shopping trip. Please secure your finances, alter your will and cancel any standing orders for bills, especially credit cards. You've had your closure conversation, and after that, if you were in any doubt that you are making the right choice, she should have bluntly removed any questions. Time for full grey rock technique and 180. SurvivingInfidelity.com has a healing library where these techniques are explained. Find out from your lawyer if you have to live together. If you can be apart, then it's much easier mentally and she can't accuse you of doing bad things if you're not even there. Well, in fairness, the trip was planned prior to her being served. When she came home, she had no bags of anything purchased. When I asked her if she bought anything, she said no and that she needed to save her money. But thank you, I will check out that website. My attorney says I can leave and stay at my father's house if I want to without any consequences. I'm still debating on leaving though. Yeah, I heard that tune before. And to be fair, so have you. Go on a shopping trip with a mate as a pretext, don't buy anything but be out of the house for a long period of time. 180 and Grey Rock help to protect your well-being and give her nothing to put her teeth into further. They are key tools that you need right now, so I'm pleased that you will employ them. Here's a rule to live by: do not hang around with people that are unstable and have an axe to grind. There are 2 ways to learn this lesson. 1. Take advice from people that have been there. 2. Catch a case and learn it the hard way for yourself. Be wise here. You have been so far and that's pleasing to see. Why are you still there then? You're just asking for trouble. Update: I'm thriving and she's a drunken wreck. Post-separation original post. It's been a little over 3 weeks now since I served my 38 meters wife, 36F, with divorce. Once again, I greatly appreciate all the advice and kind words. This is a wonderful community that has really helped me, and many others, navigate through heartbreak. Many have been reaching out to me asking for an update, so I thought I could give the news on events that have transpired, and maybe some of my own personal reflections on everything. Thankfully, things have calmed down. I took the advice of everyone here, my therapist, and my attorney, and I left the house. I was hopeful we could coexist and I can stay in my own home, but there was a night where things escalated and I knew it wouldn't be possible to stay under the same roof as her. I was staying in the guest bedroom at the time. One night she had said something nasty, I forget what. Later on she knocked on my door lightly. I answered to find her in tears as she offered an apology for her actions. I thanked her and asked that she leave me be. After closing the door she unleashed a fury of vulgarities at me on the other side of the door. Then went downstairs and continued her tirade. "Ducking asshole." I heard over and over, among many heinous insults to me and my family. Luckily there was no sign of impending violence, but I sat in the room above her as she continued cursing and yelling, hoping she would stop. She eventually did. That night I slept with the door barricaded and made the decision to leave the next day. Once she left for work the next day I began packing the rest of my things. Luckily I work from home, so I had time before work and during my lunch break to pack up my car. After work was done I jumped in my car with one of the cats and went to my father's where I have been since. It's peaceful here. The house is not occupied most of the time, and many of the rooms were used more for storage. Cleaning out one of the bedrooms upstairs and buying new furniture has been a fun project. The room I am now staying in is quite cozy. For as long as I have been married I have always wanted a gaming room, and that's what I've been working on turning this room into. I even bought myself a new bed. It's one of those adjustable bases and even has a built-in massage function. I may have gone a little overboard, but I wanted to be comfortable and excited about where I am living. As of typing this up, I can confirm I'm thrilled to be here. I even got my email confirmation for my Steam Deck, so that was a nice added bonus from Valve. It's as if they knew I was going through a tough time and needed something fun, There has been some communication between us, but very little. Since my wife does not clean or really know how to take care of the house, I have been visiting on weekends to check on things, and grab any other items I may have left behind. Her tone has definitely changed. She has been begging me to call off the divorce, taking ownership of all things wrong with the marriage, offering to have the open policy I have been asking her for, and swearing that she called everything off with the guy she had an affair with. I'm not buying it. I know this version of my wife as I have seen it many times. Once the dust settles she will revert back to her old, toxic habits. For now it's nice to hear directly from the source of my heartache that she is actually claiming responsibility for everything she has done, even if that gesture is a facade and short-lived. She is a person with many personal issues that I have taken an active role in assisting with. It's rather astonishing to sit back now and reflect on all the things I have helped her with throughout the years, all the ups and downs. I saw her last Sunday when I stopped at the house. The place is a mess, with empty bottles of wine scattered around. After I arrived at the house she went into the bathroom to throw up, quite loudly. She came out and said she was hungover from drinking the night before. I maintained the grey rock method and didn't engage in any way, which only fueled her sorrow further. "You don't even care," she said a few times to me while holding back tears, clearly trying to bait me. She is scrambling to suck me back to being a manipulated toy to play with, and it isn't working. It makes me sad to see her like this, but I also lost my motivation to help her, mainly because I realize that there is nothing I can do for her anymore. Coming to terms with that really does feel refreshing. Sometimes I wonder why I stayed for as long as I did, but I'm content with how things have unfolded and with my decisions. I first found out she was cheating on me in April 2021. Then found out she cheated again in August that same year. For many that would have been enough in itself, but I still stayed. As my therapist said to me, a year ago I wasn't ready to walk away. I am now. I needed to see this through and confirm that the problem was not me, the problem is entirely her and there is nothing I can do about it. My options are to endure perpetual heartbreak, or leave. I chose to leave. A year ago I did not realize those were the only cards on the table. I thought I could change myself and make the marriage work. I was wrong. My own family tried to coach me, but I needed to realize it myself without being told. That's the important part of leaving a spouse, it has to be your own decision, not someone else's. This is my decision. I am owning it, and I am improving my life little by little. There's a profound reward in learning a vital lesson in life. This hard-won knowledge is precious to personal development. I endured the hollow charade of her bullshit because I had to learn on my own. I'm not in any way ashamed to admit I stayed throughout all the issues. I'm incredibly proud of myself for finally coming to terms with everything and taking the hard steps to move on with my life. And I'm pursuing all the things I had put off for a long time. I'm making a nice gaming room for myself, exercising a whole heck of a lot. A few years ago I wrote a book but never pursued being published. I had another book I wanted to write, and I'm pleased to say that I have begun writing it. All these things I had put aside for years and made my marriage a priority. It's so incredibly refreshing to finally indulge in my own interests. I'm moving on, improving myself, and she is drinking herself into misery. I'm focusing on myself, and it feels so great. My father's house has a lot of meaning to my family. Many memories here. My grandfather came here from Portugal when he was young and purchased the property. He grew up in Portugal living off the land and growing his own food. If he didn't do that, he didn't eat. So when he came here, he purchased a large piece of land, built a house, built a barn in the backyard, planted crops and an orchard. This house represented hope for a brighter future. He had horses, cows, goats, chickens, the whole deal. As my father and his siblings grew up, the land became less populated by livestock, and more a representation of family and freedom. My uncles began rock bands and converted the horse stables in the barn to practicing spaces for their music. They played among whatever animals were left at the time. When I was born, my father brought me here on the weekends. He and my mother divorced when I was only a few months old, but remained cordial. Weekends meant being free on this land with my dad. It was paradise for a child like me. No rules, lots of land to explore and play on, and a badass father who made me feel so loved and free. He bought me a dirt bike when I was 8 or 9 years old. I used to ride that bike all over the property, around the barn, on the front lawn. My grandmother used to complain that I was tearing up the grass. She'd come outside as I drove by the front of the house and yell at me to slow down, but I'd scoff at her and ride faster around the house and through the orchard. There were a few nights here when my father would open the window to his upstairs bedroom and climb out on the roof. He'd coax me out with him and we'd lay on our backs in the middle of the night, engulfed in darkness while staring up at the stars together, talking about traveling the universe and whether there is life somewhere out there. Last night I snuck out through that same window, sat on the roof in my pajamas, looked up at the stars and cried while pondering life. I cried partly due to sadness, but mostly because I felt that freedom and hope I once had when I was a kid in this house. Back then I was always so incredibly eager for what would come from life. I looked forward to growing up, being a good person and living an honest, fulfilling life. Those feelings vanished for a long time, but they are slowly emerging from beneath the rubble of a failed marriage. There's hope for a brighter future, and I can't wait to see what comes next. You're a really good writer, man. At least you have some peace which everyone deserves. I still recommend that you contact your lawyer and inform the workplace at the appropriate time. She knows your indecisive and passive nature. The stories and abuse will continue after the divorce. You should shake her image. I disagree. When on the path to inner peace, do not stop by the wayside to stir up trouble for someone else, no matter how much they deserve it. People's own actions will bring them their own just dues. Just as all of our actions have consequences, so does his ex-wife's. Being a crappy person is only attainable for so long before everything implodes. I don't for 1 second believe her life is all sunshine and gummy bears. Her own actions will prove to be her fatal flaw. The marriage didn't fail because of you here, now it was because of the person you chose, but that is now rectified. And think of this, if she really was working to get you back, she would pull herself together and change, but instead she greets you like a cheap date drunk. No one falls for that, do they? Hope you laughed at that. Just wow there. Focus on you, It sounds like you are at a good place for healing. Strong words from strong man. Respect and peace of mind. Just read your last 2 posts. Man. You're a candidate for sainthood for lasting that long with her. I'm curious, when you first met and started dating, did you see any red flags? Any hints of narcissistic behavior? I'm divorced and happily living the single life, but if I ever do decide to date again, I want to be aware of every warning sign there is. Thank you very much. There were red flags from the start of us dating. After a month or 2 I realized she had an issue with alcohol. She wasn't plastered drunk 24/7, but she would feel compelled to drink at very random times, and she was always a very obnoxious drunk. She had some aggressive incidents, but once everything was over she would reflect on everything and admit her faults. She was never shy to admit she had an issue, which prompted me to believe she could change. And she did a few times. There were periods where she would be alcohol-free for a year or 2, then swear that she could handle it again and begin drinking, and eventually she'd be sneaking alcohol around with her and drinking in the middle of the day again. I forget where I heard this before, but there's a quote that always stood out to me. Love is not solely celebrating the strengths of your partner, but also tolerating their weaknesses. Of course there's a limit to how much weakness one should truly withstand, but I saw her alcohol issues as something I wanted to help her through. When alcohol wasn't at play, things with her really were beautiful. I believed she wanted to be a good person and overcome her issues. Then she met this guy at work and started sleeping with him. Up until then, she was clean for 2 years and had really put her life together nicely. Once she began cheating, everything changed. She embraced all the destructive impulses she had. Like alcohol, I thought she could overcome everything. Maybe she can, but I'm not going to wait around anymore. I'm too exhausted to try anymore. So as far as warning signs, well, there's no precise formula I can give you that can be applied to dating. Everyone has their own individual preferences in a partner, and you have to determine for yourself what you can and cannot withstand. I'm not thinking about dating right now, but after all this is over and I feel ready to, I may try dating again, and when/if I do, I think I'll avoid alcoholics. That'll be my own individual preference, lol. Best of luck, my friend. Glad to hear that you are living a happy life now. Damn. She needs help. There are mental health/psychological issues she is repressing with the cheating and the lying and the drinking. You can't let someone like that take you down the toilet with them. Hope she gets help. Me too. I really hope she finds help and becomes a better person. Your life and house sounds really awesome and healing BTW. Thank you. Yes, I'm very fortunate to have been born into such a great family. I just got an email on my husband's iPad that the hot water in his apartment building was going to be shut down temporarily for repairs. We own our own house, and have not rented for over a decade. My husband is on a trip with one of our sons and his brother to go visit their mother, my son's grandmother. I was cleaning up the den when an email notification popped up on his iPad. It was an email from an apartment complex that they were going to be temporarily closing down the hot water for repairs, sent from one of those automatic senders that you can't reply to. It was addressed to my husband, with his first and last name. The thing is, we own our house. We haven't rented in over 10 years, and even then it wasn't this place. Where my husband is, upstate NY, there isn't any service. I tried to send him a picture of the email, but it won't go through. I called him and spoke to him for a bit. The service was choppy, but I managed to explain to him about the email, and basically all he said is that it must be a mistake and they had the wrong email. We weren't able to say much before the call just dropped, but if it was a wrong email, how would they have his first and last name, all spelled correctly? For context, his first name is somewhat common, but our last name isn't common, especially in this area. There weren't any other emails from this sender or about this apartment complex in my husband's emails, but he is also the kind who clears out his inbox as he gets messages. I sent a message to the apartment complex telling them that I think my husband was on their email list by mistake, but I just got an automatic email sent back that they were out of the office until 10:20, and then general rent information pricing, 1 bedroom $1,600, 2 bedroom $1,900, and that there were no open units available. There was no unit number on the email, but the complex is about 15 minutes away from our house, so I went and I drove by. Which I guess might be a little crazy, I know. I didn't see anything, not like I knew what to expect. It's a group of buildings. Less than 100 apartments in all. I don't have any reason to mistrust my husband other than this weird email that gives me a strange feeling in the pit of my stomach. As well as a general feeling of paranoia that he's just been bored with me. I've been feeling this way for a little while, but he insists I'm imagining it and that he's happy. I only brought it up to him once, when I was feeling particularly insecure last year. We still do things together, he still tells me he loves me, etc. I just feel like he doesn't have as much fun with me as he used to, and like he looks for reasons to be out of the house or doing things specifically with the boys instead of doing things with the whole family. It's not like it's something that bothers me every day, just something that I think about when I'm feeling insecure or paranoid, like in a situation like this where he gets an email from random apartment complexes lol. Anyway, I don't know exactly what advice I'm looking for. I know the advice I would have for one of my friends would be just to talk to him, but I really can't do that until he comes home on Saturday, which is a really long time for me to sit with my intrusive thoughts. Edit: he never lived here in the past. He lived with his parents until college, and then lived in a dorm, and then every place he rented was with me. We've been dating since we were 19. Edit: 2 The email wasn't a phishing scam. It was a legitimate email, from the email address on the apartment complex's website. All of the information included in the email letterhead matched the information on the apartment complex's website. And if it was a phishing scam, I assume they would have been looking for information. This email wasn't looking for anything, it was just an informational email about the water. Update: my best friend called the emergency maintenance number and said that she was a delivery driver who had over $100 worth of food, and said my husband's name, but said he had forgotten to fill in his apartment number. The guy didn't speak English very well, but after she repeated herself a few times he did eventually say his name and then told us an apartment number. If you go knock on the door and a woman answers, do not lose your cool. Maybe send your friend up there and be prepared to show his picture. Would love an update on this when it comes. Last night I found out about my husband's secret apartment and my friend went to it. Sorry about the late update. My post was locked by the time I got to it. I'm currently writing this on the ride upstate. Yesterday I posted about an email I had gotten on my husband's email from an apartment complex talking about fixing the water. My husband, who is upstate visiting his mother until Saturday, has next to no cell service, so I haven't been able to talk to him about any of this other than saying that the email must have been a mix-up. My friend called and got his apartment number from the maintenance man. Both of us went over to the apartment and my friend knocked. A girl answered but didn't answer the door, just the bell camera. My friend said she was there looking for Adam. The girl said that Adam wasn't there but wouldn't give her more information than that, which I get. My friend was just a total stranger at her door. When we left I could see her looking out the apartment window at us. I tried to call my husband 1,000 times yesterday and nothing went through. The few times the call did pick up, the service was so bad you could barely hear anything. So I'm headed upstate to confront him in person. I have a copy of the email, as well as a photo of the apartment, as well as a recording of the girl saying that Adam wasn't there, which is a confirmation to me that she knows him. If this is somehow all a big misunderstanding, I'm going to have my husband explain it to me in person, instead of waiting until he comes home. I haven't gotten a chance to read all the comments, but I will go through them now and try to respond to what I can. I haven't slept, so I hope this makes sense. Edit to everyone telling me that I should just wait, not confront him, talk to her first. He's my husband, he's the father of my children. If I am going to find out that he's cheating on me, it is going to be from him. I'm going to say this for the last time. Please, stop advising me not to go talk to my husband about this very serious situation that we are in. I will go talk to a lawyer if need be. However, we have been married for over a decade, we have a family, and a life together. I am going to go talk to him. I understand what the situation probably is. I understand that he's probably going to try to lie to me. I'm not a moron. You can assume the girl is now trying to contact Adam to say some strangers were asking about him. Also, if she was using a doorbell to communicate with Op and her friend, there's a high probability he has access to the footage since those doorbells usually come with a camera. So, he may have a lot of preparation already done to possibly create a story and deny the truth. He probably called her after his wife called him to tell her if someone shows up not to answer the door. I'm sure he made up some story to the paramour, they always do. That is of course only if she doesn't know about the wife. Yeah, looks like he's lying to both of them and this girl doesn't know anything about a wife. I think he wasn't expecting the wife to come over and tell the girl beforehand, otherwise he'd tell the girl to also deny that she knows someone by that name. Lol, really should have asked the girl if she knew Adam was married. We discussed doing this, but I would rather confront my husband than this woman. I confronted my husband. Previous posts can be found here. I'm writing this from a hotel room. I went to confront my husband. He knew the minute my car pulled up what was going on. He came outside to meet me and the first thing he said was, "Did you go to the apartment?" And I told him yeah. So then he said, "So I guess we have to have a talk," and again I said yeah. I'm not going to get into the exact details of it. It was a long talk and it involved a lot of emotions. She is his girlfriend. They've been together for 4 months. She is under the impression that we are separated and going through the divorce process. His family wasn't aware of this. His brother and mother, who were there, were horrified. I'm sorry, I don't have more to say. I've already contacted a divorce lawyer, a therapist, and a financial advisor. Thanks to everyone for your support. 4 months and he's already paying for an apartment? Sounds fishy, or he already had the apartment for his past girlfriends. It was absolutely his duck bad way before the GF ever came along. In sugar dating it's pretty common for the allowance and help with rent/bills etc. to start pretty early, sometimes after the second date. If he was her sugar daddy then Op might have a financial claim to the marital assets he spent supporting the girlfriend. I wonder if she'll have any interest in him once she finds out he's going to be losing half of everything. If not more. Probably not if they were having a transactional relationship. Good. He deserves to be dumped on his ass twice. My ex-husband's homewrecker lost interest in him a few months after our divorce. Openly dating him wasn't fun anymore, plus she was juggling a few other guys too, and being full-time with my ex just wasn't working out for her. Long story short, she dumped him. I moved on to date the absolute hottest guys and never looked back. All I can say to you is that there's hope. Let this loser go. You can find much better men. Trust me, winking face. What goes around? Spoiler NSFW. My girlfriend is black, cute and loyal, but I cheated her all the time within the first few years that we met, and she took me back countless times. Everything was good for close to 5 years, and then a girl talked negatively behind my back to her and how I wasn't good for her and couldn't be trusted. She had been liking this black guy's pictures on Instagram over the course of a period of time, which eventually made me a bit suspicious, so one day I went through her phone and read messages between them, only to find out a month beforehand she hung out with him. They had met in college, and I could tell from the messages he had been pursuing her for at least 2 to 3 years or more. I confronted her for a few days and she finally admitted she hung out in a hotel with him and gave him head. I'm not sure if they had sex or not, as she adamantly denied that. Do you think they ducked? Karma is a bitch to those that are unfaithful, and it goes to show it can happen to anyone, as she was extremely innocent when we first met and not in a million years that type of girl. Why did you stay with someone you kept cheating on? You had no respect for her. Did you just want to constantly hurt her more? Did you think she wouldn't eventually do it back? I'm not chastising you, just curious. Key thing here is, once you feel the need or desire to have someone other than who you told that you are committed to, just break up. Why waste their time? You obviously don't care about them the way they care about you if you want someone else. You have to start being honest to yourself. If you aren't ready to settle down, then you need to communicate like a human being who respects other human beings. Look, there are people out there who will be okay with having something casual. Of course it won't be long term, but you don't have to hurt people and be a cheater. Obviously you have some deep-seated issues that you have to work on before committing to anyone. If you aren't ready to face them just yet, then just let the people who you want to date or that want to date you that you aren't in a place to commit and you won't be exclusive. If they aren't okay with that, cool, at least you know, then move on. Don't just say things to people so they will sleep with you. Some people will be okay with it because they think they can change your mind, or maybe they don't want to be exclusive either. Look, you don't have to be a jerk to have many others, just be honest. You really have no room to be mad or surprised, do you? I mean, read your first sentence again. Oh yeah, they did the deed. Don't be mad at her. You brought it upon yourself. If anything, she learned the behavior from you. If she sucked it, you can bet she sure as hell ducked it too. Have you ever only had a BJ? She not only ducked him, but probably did you right after. Sloppy seconds as revenge for your cheating. It really shouldn't matter if she ducked him, BC, your relationship is ducked, probably too ducked up to repair. I would suggest you stop being a cheater, aka the lowest of the low. Lol. Karma comes around in a full swing, my brother. Hey, if you ain't married or got kids, you can easily walk away. Don't mess it up on the next one. Good luck. Well, blowjob is considered as sex, the relationship is toxic. Has to be satire. Do you think they ducked? I'm not sure, but I do hope so, and that it was amazing. Signals to discover cheating. NSFW signals of cheating might be: sudden behavioral changes. Change in behavior is a good indicator for fresh cheaters. Unluckily, serial and advanced cheaters are getting better with their skills. Sudden emotional changes, for example outbursts of rage/anger, changes about phone/internet usage, for example hiding their phones, rise in usage and messages, change about time/absence, for example working extra hours, or a new hobby, unusual scent on him/her, that's a classic, for all with a good nose, new presents/cloths around. Changes in bed, for example frequency/words/fore and after play/new positions at yours. Some of the signals sum up to hit the trigger fully. ONS might be more difficult to sense because of the low binding. How to discover? Get your gut feeling right and find out for yourself. Yes, Facebook's people you may know might give you a hint, too. But don't fall into obsession with stalking too much on Facebook, leading to additional headaches and doubts. Smile, Facebook is mind manipulating you every hour you use it. I would like to state that I am not an expert, but unfortunately I got experience being played with a lot. This is an awesome guide, especially for those who experience a lot of noise, which is a lot of changes and behaviors that are out of character, which can easily lead to an overwhelming all bets are off, it's just all suspicious now. Where did you get those Doritos? Raised eyebrow, it makes us feel as crazy as they claim we are. Just by decluttering things in order to narrow our focus on the root of things, the full history/triggers of the new behaviors we see, but are probably being told they are crazy, What else it could be if it's not what it seems, ruling out fake news to focus on other concerns, etc. We are closing many cases and getting that much closer to being able to get the truth about what happened so we can process it, grieve and start to live again. Right. And not getting yourself lost in too many suspicions and doubts. Some ghosts are air only. Some ghosts are found to be real and proof. And some ghosts might become real because you believe in them and change yourself with your actions, thoughts and reflections. Unfortunately, many cheaters are manipulative and liars. Don't get lost in the psy games, and don't add play too much. Girlfriend was cheating, got pregnant, ghosted. Detailed version: OC fiance cheated, pregnant the month after. I found out so much in the aftermath. Thoughts, doubts and tension are staying with me. Seeking advice on how to proceed. Feedback, comments and enlightenments are welcome, too. Background would fill pages. Just in short, we have been LD but LDR with plans and called daily and messaged intensively, 50 messages a day, mostly much more. About all 2 months we would stay together for 2 to 3 weeks. LD over borders, we are from different countries and cultures with a few thousand kilometers apart. So we stayed together again, she picked me up at the airport. Happy time being together, going out, solving things, buying stuff, meeting friends, all. We had sex again but this time it felt different. Small details, looks, words, hands/hand play. And a detail here and there raised my suspicions. We had many memorable moments together. Later some more details. Let me jump to her confession. I flew off into the distance again. 5 weeks in the pregnancy and at another anger eruption I had finally the balls to chat reply and trigger her with one specific but fuzzy clue from my collection of all my gut feelings and semi-evidence. A visual trigger added, harmless to look at, but an overwhelming trigger for a caught liar. It was a hit in the mark. Bullseye. She got silent, stunned, like collapsing. Only a few words she replied admitting. It was clear the game was over. Reaniva plus. House of Lies was collapsing. And finally it was getting off my chest. I arranged with a colleague about my assumption that assumptional wouldn't be able to work much that day. What followed was a 3-hour call with her. She repeated from the last lines of our chat. My tears are dry. You can tell everything now. What followed was her confession, who she effed, when they met first, at how many times they met during that month, the month before I arrived, that they did not use condoms. She excused, but he said he would come outside, no comment needed, right? BTW years earlier she gave me STI from another fling, that time we haven't been that close or committed. She had 4 affairs I know of and never used a condom or so. That time we had STI. I had been on her side, opened and educated her about it and where from, took the walk of blame to get the medication and supplied it to her, too. That time she couldn't conceive for several months for the same reason. However, some very small inaccuracies were included, date of their first cheat date. And when asked about her ex, another fling or ex who was current a year ago, she denied having seen him. I suspected she and him met at a New Year's Eve party. Social media is a bitch, both posted from the same location and the photos have been taken from the same angle of the site. No coincidence, you were not there by coincidence. Well, he was clever to use a story photo only visible for 24 hours. Coincidence filled the gap. All of my gut feelings perceived through my senses were right. One sentence out of the mindset of a cheater, but he's not a good person, he only wanted to FCK, yeah, still a caught cheater tries to push it to others. I didn't reply to that, not worth it. One more? I didn't want to meet him again. But he came to my room days later again, without invitation, without appointment. What a naughty boy. Guess who first opened the door and then the legs? One final more? We only make love, then it would be okay, or what was that for? Heard it, noted it, but not a word replied from me. No condom, I told him. No, my husband will be coming, and again they met. But, lover/AP, always said to me, don't need to worry about whatever consequences, getting busted, risk of our breakup, also when he attempted to meet again after I left. She worried that I would leave her and we would break up. I listened mostly calmly to her confession and just asked very small questions. But on this one I couldn't hold it and replied very calmly and non-offensive, you don't need to worry about me leaving you. I left you already the day you escorted me to the airport. So they had sex in our room, on our bed, on the same bed sheet. Our studio photo of us arranged together was next to the bed. She ordered a surprise gift for me in his presence. She and him ate from the plates we had hand-selected. He saw a tattoo on her naked body dedicated to our future children. We did that tattoo 3 months prior as a commitment to our relationship. She demanded to get that tattoo, mostly spontaneous while passing a studio. I negotiated it down a bit for size, being more discreet, and a shorter inscription, yes, text. What could I do? What could I have done? What should I do? Well, we have been engaged, but all that went down the hill, ruined and tainted during and due to her cheating. It is and was not in my control. Her choice. And her actions and consequences are up to her. Right? And the distance was another barrier, still not sure if for good or worse. I had horrible and thoughtful days and nights, being non-concentrated at work. Felt good about some lies that got out of the secret, but felt bitter and bad about our relationship falling apart and one dream vanishing after the other. We kept in contact, it felt bizarre and strange. Less messages and calls. I couldn't say I love you anymore to her, avoiding the usual confessions. Her tensions rising, I could again feel her inner tension, either because of her inner conflict, who's the father, how to continue, or due to her unghosting the other man again. My gut feeling told me, this time I was listening and trusting my gut feeling better. Her strange behavior had the same pattern as during the ongoing adultery month. She told him the day before I arrived to forget her like he never knew her, then blocked and deleted evidence. 10 days later, in the limbo of fog and status quo, there was a morning surprise, and what followed shortly after was another new anger eruption, swearings at me. It came clear to me that there is no future for both of us. Just toxic, tainted, lies, doubt, tension, no trust, no faith, no hope, possibly new betrayal and lies. That morning she changed a profile photo. Half the way clever, it was not showing her with that other male together, but a photo he took of her on the day they met first. That way she could show it openly to everyone and to me and to her pleased lover, because the photo itself looks good, normal and innocent. Looks can be deceiving. Later someone enlightened me about her previous profile photos, same pattern, giving me the names matching each of her profile and story photos in a way like playing Concentration, the memory card game where you find a matching pair. I traveled back in time and discovered some unseen posts by her, some that have been visible for only a few hours, and the time she changed her relationship status from engaged to single. Kicking my own butt what I have missed, so obviously, some things so openly. I had help, someone as a translator from blinded_by_love to hammer_it_to_mind. Open_your_eyes. That someone is way more active on social media and took screenshots at the time of the posts because that someone found it strange. The bottom was, today I am not going to sleep alone, together with a photo of her dressed nicely just before going out on the date with him. It was visible for only quite short, an hour or two. What's happening in the mind of someone posting such an announcement to cheat? Who was that addressed to? Anticipation for the lover on what to expect when they meet later on that day? Thrill of announcing it public? I learned about this announcement in hindsight. At the original time of that post I was sleeping. Still risky, huh? At that time I was very emotional and many thoughts went through my mind, thinking ways, thinking possibilities, almost couldn't work, consulted/spoke with a close friend about it, overthinking and overthinking again. I found no good ending, no good outcome, no good way. Just that an end is necessary for that toxic relationship, an end for being sold for stupid, an end for being taken for a ride, an end to lies, an end to history keeps repeating, an end to our misery. And an end to my illusion about we have a committed exclusive relationship, and an end to our future would be a family with her. A fight is going on inside me, Google it with quotes for another insight. How to end. I skipped most ideas floating in my mind about how to put an end. How to cause least pain, how to not be mean. Short time and long time outcome. How to put her/them not to life danger. She twice threatened to jump as an escape, or was it her call for attention in case of borderline? Why ghosting? No additional hurt, no extra argument, no more conflict. It will hurt us both enough anyway. My intention was avoidance, to avoid that awkward situation, avoid losing faces, avoid us screaming, avoid new lies, avoid her apologizing with no chance for forgiveness, avoid new promises to be broken again, avoid her begging, and avoid me needing to hear all this again. Heard that before. She didn't keep promises before. I wanted an end to both her plus my tensions and her toxicity. And I wanted to protect myself from being hurt that deep again. On confession day I thought and expected the end to our relationship, but somehow it was not really over and transverted to a daily routine. Wake up to myself, our relationship was over long ago. I also wanted to avoid the small risk of me getting soft. Avoiding history repeating, one time in the past, in a broad similar situation where she did something contra-relationshiptional and I wanted to break up, she slapped herself several times as a self-punishment while begging to forgive her. And another time she bit herself to underscore her promises for her virtue and honesty. I also didn't want to risk her jumping to death after a full rejection. Who's the ghost first? In the past she once threatened to ghost me, block, delete and change her number etc., even to move so you will not find me. I remember all the details. She barked very late that night, in addition to our usual goodnight call. During that day there has not been much up to argue about, but it erupted from her. It sounded like an announcement in 2 weeks, her future plan. That was 2 weeks before she started her affair and met her lover. The day following that announcement I was not answering her for half the day. She played down what she said, apologizing, emphasizing how much she loves me and how much our relationship values her. Made me think. That time I forgave. I selected a ghost, avoiding discussions, worthless, avoiding confrontation with tears, avoiding new lies. BTW. One of her confessions was I am a liar. I set a fixed day some days in the future to pull out the plug. Time to become aware which plugs are there, all those social media connections, messengers, mutual friends, phone numbers, office. I read many threads about surviving infidelity, breakups, about revenge, learning from others' experiences, trying at least. I realized nobody and no guide would take it from my shoulders. More doubt, more overthinking. Trying to think ahead into the far future, what if? Revenge? Well, I thought about it a lot, I had the feeling for it, I hate both of them for what they did. I read a lot about revenge and payback, also about the experience others have had. And their outcome. Short time, feels good to get revenge. Long time, mostly not worth it, and many have had a little evil eating them. And that their necks, mutual friends, family and karma might look down on me because of the revenge I did. Still thoughts are circling from time to time about dropping a line or a fist to the tape. He actively took part in the actions that turned the lives of 3 to 4 people into unknown worse. Suggestions are welcome. Reputative revenge? I thought about revealing to her best friend and her sister about her infidelity and lies and everything so they wouldn't think bad of me and I keep a good reputation. Revenge would have made me feel good for a moment because I was right and she was wrong, and opening the book of shame and blame. But they are her friends and family, they would either be her side or blame her for her actions from all sides plus gossip. No win scenario. They wouldn't be part of my future anyway. To myself, let it go, so I decided to let it go, let her go and continue her life and tell her friends, relatives, family and the other guy, lover, AP affair partner, whatever story she wants or is most comfortable for her. Her future? A view to the other side, how would she and her life continue? I'd conned it was not my business and out of my control anyway. However, whatever I give in or say to her might take effect in the far future. Her future. Their future. She would defend and justify her actions or change the story so she would have more tension about it and the new lies she would tell them. So, whatever, give her a bit more freedom to tell them whatever she wants, whatever makes her comfortable, whatever is good for her future or the next guy. Would it hurt me? First I thought, yes, because of my reputation and gossip. But then I settled with, no, it would not hurt me, so let her create her own reality and I don't mix in there, but also, I would not be available to blame me on anything anymore. Her actions, her consequences. You reap what you sow. Except a big but, what if? If I am the father and that little new person comes of age and asks questions about who is father, where, why not there and what else happened? My thoughts are still hurting me on this, ongoing. But the answer is similar like before, her and their way, life would be complicated enough, no input from me and thus no consideration needed. They will have a story ready and children eat it as it is. Until maybe in the far future, I am not prepared for that case, someone in 15 or 20 or 25 years knocks my door and says hi and maybe confronts me about whatever version of the story and history. Cannot control that, too. I might have years to prepare for that, and years of headache about. End thoughts. I realized I don't want revenge, put nothing bitter or angry. Last best wishes have been said and written already on previous escalations, like hearty goodbye and thanks for knowing you and all the good time we spent together. Wishing you well and taking care. Last time on that 10-day day. I didn't want to repeat it like that another time. On previous occasions, every few months, she texted me goodbye forever, this time for real, but they weren't actually an end and usually minutes to hours later she calmed down and apologized lovely. The end, or, becoming a ghost. The last afternoon came, the last time I sent out nice and amicable words on the phone call. With a lump in my throat because I knew it was the end. I was tempted to say something else, maybe something important or something lasting or something meaningful. I resisted. It hurt. Later and late last messages, sending out good night and sweet dreams. Take care. See you in dreamland while I was driving. She should have slept already, and didn't reply before. I wanted the last words to be friendly words. But then, another torrent of egocentric messages mixed with anger arrived, barking at me about, pushing on me by questioning about. I will skip it, nothing factual, nothing fundamental. I just replied, whatever I tried to message, to call, to do. It can't please you. As I was driving, which I've told her, I didn't reply to her much. Later I read it. One of her lines was like, you think this baby is not your baby. Okay, never come back to me. One day this is really your baby, I will have left you already, and all this came out of nowhere. Not a topic called out from my lips. Only once, on that day of her confession, when I asked her, do you know who the daddy is? Her answer was, I don't know. Sorry, and the confession started. This did not go and end like planned. I said bye and thanks before. Several times. Friendly and honest. So no need to repeat it again. I couldn't really eat nor sleep. In the early morning I went on autopilot to block, disable, deactivate. She noticed my early morning activities, changed my profile photo, barked 2 or 3 lines of derogatory remarks, then that channel was blocked, too. Silence. So silent. For some days, honestly rather more, I was reckoned empty and tempted to plug in again. I resisted knowing the outcome, and it couldn't be good and just get worse. Over the next days there were more than 200 calls blocked. Stupid phone. If I block someone, do you really need to still tell me how many times Mrs. Block called? So, chances are, 50-50, the baby is mine. On the other hand, read on my arrival day I remember her breasts felt somehow different in my hands and I couldn't figure out what it was. Was it her not being able to stay committed to our relationship? I mean, we had plans and dreams about lifelong together, family, kids, and had a list of names for them already. Was it about appetite for another affair? One not enough? Thrill of falling in new love again? Kink of some kind? Was it about LD/LDR, not being available and around all the time? I know LDR is complicated, I have been on the other side of it. But we stayed so close all the time, daily several calls, short and long ones, messages and sending each other selfies and pics of our daily lives. More details are following, not really chronologically. Her side for good, I have been by her side, showed much patience and empathy towards her, and supported her emotionally. On every problem that shaked her, work, family, life. Even when morning sickness kicked in and so on. I don't want to sound arrogant, but it's likely that there will only be 2 such men in her whole life with that kind of unconditional love. The second, her father. But on this one, I can't anymore. I can't again. I won't. Doormat no more. Roller coaster of cheating. During that month before my arrival she wrote to me, twice? Thrice? Out of nothing she doesn't want me anymore and I shouldn't wait for her at the airport upon my arrival, just to forgive hours or next morning and reverse it adding love declarations. Well, that time my flight was booked anyway, so if she wouldn't show up, I would be sure about it all and move on. It was hurting me to hear it and prepare my mindset with a thick skin to whatever the future will bring. Good to be prepared, but it hurt so much. It did hurt to feel our committed serious relationship has a serious problem. By that time her relationship status has changed from engaged to single already, as reconstructed in retrospect. I didn't invite her to the airport and she knew my arrival already. Let's wait and see. Background of her writing to cancel would have been of them being together and for example after orgasm felt good, so they would triumph with their plans for their future and write to me and declare a breakup with me. Well, my gut feeling was telling me, because of her changed syntax, that some messages to me have been composed by him or by them together. It didn't match, and as we messaged a lot, well, you know your partner quite well. Another day's background might have been to give me a reason for her silence in communication during her following meetup without disturbance, without her needing to reply or being callable. Reconstructed timing told me later after her confession that they met. Declarations of love, she repeatedly said during the last month she did choose me, and many more deep declarations of commitments toward our relationship and future. But I need to get to the ground, to realize she was someone who wasn't ultimately choosing me. Words and actions are not the same. In the end, actions are louder than words. She did choose to open her heart and legs. I can't and I won't trust her words anymore. Dreams were modified. We had plans for our family and talked and planned and dreamed about it from time to time. I remember late in that month we talked once again about one of our blueprints for our future, and living together was slightly modified. Small details were added. Not much, but now in the retrospective I realize it was about to include a job for the other guy. It makes sense, and his job matches and coincidence is unlikely because of the timely match of these extras. And then in that future, if I would have not been around all the time, then they... I don't need to explain my thoughts further, do I? What a plan. Dream for her, for them. I would call it a nightmare of planned and ongoing betrayal. And she sold it to me as our future. On the day of confession she offered that in case I break up with her, we could still stay friends or keep in friendly contact like before, and that I still could visit her in the future, even if I would be together with a new partner. In hindsight I am thinking now this, added to the modified dream, might have been a hint to her wanting something open. One of her relatives tried to split us all the time, telling her stories about me and my race, and putting thingies, into her ear and into her heart. She kept visiting and listening to that relative. Every time after, I catched her tears and needed to defend myself from the things that were told to her. He not stay with you, he not love you real, he only want to sex you, you can have other use condom with him, you are too simple for him, just a small selection. Once she kept strong, chose on my side, even blocked her and made pro-US statements. That commitment felt good. But she kept returning to that relative's social circle and poisoned influence, again and again later on. Packing out of an everyday situation, she said something to me in a disrespectful way, commanding voice, rude. I rejected the friendly but firm. She anger erupted. Argument about, you cannot treat me like that, I'm not a kid, if you don't like it, you can leave. This, and 2 more incidents within a few days being close, being not LD. My reserve was used up. I fell silent for a moment, took it as a fateful development, double-checked by double overthinking about insisting on respect and if it would be worth it, didn't want to be degraded to be submissive, thanked Tinelli about the good times we had together and began to pack my things to leave. First she let me pack, playing ignoring me, maybe testing if I would cancel it. Then her apologies kicked in and in a theatrical way she begged me to stay and to forgive her and hold on my leg, soft blocking my way to the door and so on. I gave in, stayed and explained about what I won't accept regarding mutual respect. Business trip. During my stay I left for a business trip for 2 days. But during my absence we exchanged lots of messages, some calls, selfies, as usual. After returning I asked openly and friendly, how was yesterday and last evening, gone somewhere, dinner/friend/supermarket? No. I asked several times and also hinted to her that I knew she was not at home, in a way that would have made it very easy for her to admit whatever/wherever. It was not a confrontation. She insisted on being home that night. But she wasn't. A neighbor I rarely meet or talk with confirmed to me, not at home. Where has she been? I didn't ask again and I don't know until now. Somewhere. And she slept there too. My evolving gut feeling didn't fire up more than about the obvious unknown whereabout that night, not a smallest bit about a night of love or fling. Remains mystery. But who knows how good she got at hiding and lying, think positive and expect the worst. Labias, she sent me nudes regularly but in retrospect I remember my gut feeling telling me on one from that month, phew, her outer labias look well supplied with blood, excited. Either she masturbated, or, yes, they had. And she took that photo shortly after and sent it to me. Confirmed in hindsight. Abort? How about an abort? She is pro-life. I knew and I am too, we undoubtedly wanted kids. Maybe that's not clever but that's clever for the upcoming existence of a new life, someone discovering their existence and this earth. However, once she threatened me about them jumping off the building as an escape. She never opened the topic to abort and I didn't either. Again, her choice, and zero pressure from my side. Resume, the damage has been done, the seed has been planted. There is no way to turn back time. There is no way to unbreak the trust and dreams. It is not possible to undo or unduck. There are some gaps in my story, sorry about that. It would be just too much and too detailed plus personal. Sometimes I think I would be better off if I could remember just half of what my senses captured and my brain remembers. That would reduce hurt and headache to less than half. Some gaps may contain things I did not do well as well, but I know these, can live well with them and I can assure they are not massive. Roller coaster is still running again from time to time. I can't deny it, even if it would sound more manly to state how much I don't care and that I never have a thought again. Example, seeing a toddler, even in a movie, can trigger it in me. My thoughts about what happened to me and her are extensive. I am reflecting on my side, her side and his side. Additionally, my thoughts are also trying to figure the far future, the far outcome, far like years, what might happen and how it might develop much later. Again, all sides, 4 main actors and add friends and family and future partners. Thanks for listening to my story and my vent. I didn't mean to type that much but my thoughts and memories yelled to get out of me. Seeking advice on how to proceed, history and future. Feedback, comments and enlightenments are welcome, too. Edit, grammar/typos. Does she keep trying to talk to you to forgive her? Yes. I still receive blocked calls and the one or other message slipped through begging to forgive her, to call her and to talk to her like we talked before and to call her one more/last time. I didn't talk with her since that day. She cheated on you 5 times and gave you STI and you want to school her about being responsible. You deserve what you got. You want to school her about being responsible. I don't want to and I won't. Worthless and I know now. But yes, I have been much too optimistic and ignored yellow and other flags for much too long. Can't change the past. So that's what I deserve? Optimistic should not be one of the words you are using. More or less stupid, and you were still going in this be it $H raw even after the different men and STI, smiley face, so yes, that's what you deserve. You can't garner sympathy when it was slapping you in the face, and you decided to continue on with the relationship with this woman. What country do you live in? And her? That's the biggest shitstorm possible and you stayed with her for so long that it's just hard to understand. I thought a lot about it all and can't understand it plus her, too. Maybe I will ask her in like 10 years, I don't want to hear her lies and excuses now. I can't/won't disclose our countries, sorry. Well, at least you are away from her. She sounds like a walking, talking, nightmare. You can feel good knowing you tried, but you can feel a lot better now that you got rid of her. She will always be a mess. I've dated girls like this before. A few years or months into the future, this guy will catch on to her. He will realize that she was the train wreck that turned his life into a heaping pile of garbage. The baby probably isn't yours. I would add that there is a good chance the baby isn't even from the other guy, her AP, as well. It could be from someone totally different. You didn't lose her to the AP. You lost her to herself. She will always be the most important person in her life. Thank you for your words. It doesn't feel all good yet, but the toxicity is gone, exhaling deeply after saying this. Silent but better. COVID made it more difficult to find diversion. During that month I am pretty sure there was only one AP involved. Well, there is that missing night I wrote about. Time will tell. And karma. You didn't lose her to the AP. You lost her to herself. She will always be the most important person in her life. Gold. Was your ex-girlfriend a Filipina? This story sounds a lot like my ex-girlfriend. Nope. Your ex was cheating, and pregnant, too? Similar lies? Yep, pretty much. I did send you a DM regarding this girl. Nice essay, bro. Do you need serious therapy? Yeah, I'm working on my mental health after all of this. The long text is sort of part of it. Bruh. Surprise message from a mutual friend, how to reply. Need support. Background, fiancé cheated, pregnant the month after. I ghosted her and found out so much in retrospect. Details and background are written in the long version of my story, to be found at my profile. Now a mutual friend reached out to me asking if I saw my ex pregnant with my baby. Funny she said see, probably referring to a post on social media from my ex or something ex tried to send to me, but was blocked. That mutual friend is one of my ex's distant relatives. To my best guess and gut feeling she might well have, at least, a clue about ex's affairs. I don't know what to reply to her, my head is empty, I am speechless. Should I block that mutual friend, too? Keep that channel of communication open for future use, in case the baby is really mine? Harsh reply to her about having motivated ex to crush many boys a year before when she posted her birthday wishes? Just a short no, but that would invite her to fill the gap. Your original post was one of the most incisive I've ever read. That post reads as if your probability of fatherhood is really low. Your exit plan was to ghost and I really can't see any reason for you to be drawn back in. Her friend is a flying monkey, a minion your ex is using to get to you. The keywords was not see but rather your baby, which was designed to instill a response from you. And it worked. It affected you so much that you are considering breaking no contact. Your ex has had more pricks than a dartboard in a working men's club, so you block the flying monkey. The baby is likely from one of her numerous sordid encounters. Do not reply. Agree, stick to your plan up and ghost/block that friend too. Absolutely agree, stay the course. I would send a message, my baby? Did you DNA test the baby to see if it was mine or her many lovers? This, you need to send this. Better to offer no response. If the baby is yours, haha, she can send you a letter. It's not mine. She cheated. Then you block her. Reply. No, I did not see her and the affair partner's baby. Nor do I care to. I will be blocking you now. Have a nice day. Proceed to block. Be truthful. You haven't seen her post and who knows who the father is. Let them figure out what to do with that information. Simply reply, it is not my baby. That's all. I read your last post and I'm confused. Is the baby yours? Did you sign the birth certificate? Fatherhood remains uncertain. I didn't and I won't sign anything for now. It's only your baby until after the paternity test. In case the baby is mine, needs to be resolved ASAP. If you confirm it isn't, you should block people associated with her, since you already blocked her, so that you can move on for good. Hi. It is very simple. Reply with, I do not know if you knew this, but your ex-name cheated on me more than one time. The baby is not mine, and your ex-name and I are no longer in a relationship. So now you are completely up to date. Wishing you all the best. Do not block her, wait for a reaction. Determine if you block her after the reaction. All this because it could be that she doesn't know the whole story. Take care. Mr. Big Bull. Did you really stay with a person who cheated on you 4 times? Sorry, I couldn't get past that. You have serious codependency issues that you need to start working on. The fact that you haven't moved on from all this nonsense is telling. Cut anything and everything out. Well, the number got high in retrospect. But, I surely stupidly turned at least one blind eye then, ignoring yellow flags. That / my codependency issues clicked already. Not sure if I could ever trust a new relationship. Thanks for your words. Another finding, off my chest, just 2 hours are enough for adultery. Story. Background would fill pages, skipping those here. Just in short. During that time we have been long distance but LD relationship with serious plans and called daily and messaged intensively, 50 messages a day, mostly much more. Coincidence brought it up to me that during that time she once was about to meet up with another guy via a dating site. Not really one time only nor one AP only, but let me keep it short and focused here. They were chatting for a few days and then scheduling to meet for their first date and ready to meet for all. It turned out that guy was a friend of a friend. I got all the details openly. They didn't meet. Friend in the middle recognized her when the guy shared to him about that hot girl he's going to meet, and mutual friend told the guy she has a boyfriend FYI. Guy decided himself not to meet, just minutes before the encounter. I learned about all this much later. Friend and guy told me, showed me dialogues, nude pic opening one leg, and among chit chat there were lines from her like, I don't like condoms, we don't need condom tomorrow, I have time only 2 hours. She took a break from work to meet him. I scrolled back in our messages and found her text to me at the same time of her arrival at their meeting point, be healthy and happy darling. I'm still working and busy with, have a nice day darling. The day before their date she committed one more time to our relationship, a public post and a few special lines to me about our future family, our future kids, and that she is a good girl. But, after all, just 2 hours are enough to execute cheating. Before you slap it in my face, I understood already that her infidelity and her cheating started much earlier, or maybe have always been there, have been part of her. Over time, I learned about some of her APs. 3 minutes is enough to cheat, just saying. What do you need the extra 2 minutes and 50 seconds for? I'm not thinking in those 2 minutes of relationship. Cuddle time? Nah, that's her problem. 10 seconds to love. So is she your ex now because her legs never seem to shut before looking for another hookup dude? This added to all the lies, betrayals and games, a good confirmation that it was the right thing to ghost her. You already know what to do. Or you can play games with her. String her along, propose to her. Yep, ghosted her, and it's a good confirmation that it was right to ghost her. No more games for me. Oh okay, I thought we could have some fun with her. We hope that by sharing these stories with interested folks like you, we can help people recognize the signs of a relationship in trouble, and avoid so many of these heartbreaking situations yourselves. Have a good day or night, wherever you are.